to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is WWE Catch-Up Commentary number 15, guys. We've already done 15 of these. Man, we really rack up the episode numbers on any series that we're doing. So we're going to be recapping, I'm guessing, the past 2 weeks of Raw, SmackDown, and 205 Live, right? And NXT UK.
Yes, sir.
All right, then let's do it. Yeah, I mean, you know that I just like jumping right into these. So what do you want to talk about first?
I like to always get the 205 Live out of the way immediately because that's the easiest thing to do, because 205 Live has sort of its own separate canon, separate from everything else, and they only have like 1 to 3 matches on each show. So on the 8-7 episode of 205 Live, we had an Everrise win for once. I feel like those guys are always kind of the butt of every joke. They're always on the losing end, but they defeated, you're going to love this, dude. They defeated the team of Marquise Carter and Mikey Spandex.
Oh my god, these fucking names. They know what they're doing.
Mikey!
Oh my god.
Mikey Spandex. That's a real thing.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Marquise Carter's a cool name. I like that name, but Mike...
Yeah, actually, I can agree with you. That one's good. That one's good.
I mean, the thing about Mikey Spandex is, though, Marquise Carter's a cool name, but who are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope he doesn't want to be taken seriously, but if all he wants is to just be talked about, mission accomplished, Mikey.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so Everrise beat them, and then Danny Burch beat Tony Nese because, or not actually because, that's actually more of an in spite of the fact that Arya Daivari made his big return and attacked Oney Lorcan at ringside during the match. Didn't matter, though, because like I said, Burch won.
Wow, Nese has been fucking nerfed. He goes from being a former Cruiserweight champion to losing to Danny Burch.
Not just a former Cruiserweight champion either, but the Cruiserweight champion that beat Buddy Murphy, who is like literally holding himself back to be a Cruiserweight in the first place.
Yeah. Like
from a storyline perspective, Tony Nese should be like one of the top 2 or 3 power levels among the Cruiserweights. And
yet you lose to Danny Burch.
In spite of interference on your behalf.
Welp. So, yeah, all right, what came after this?
Oh, well, that was it for last week's episode, but then this week we got Legado del Fantasma, which, you know, Santos Escobar doesn't lower himself to working regular-ass 205 Live matches, but his minions do the work. So Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde defeated, guess who? Everrise.
Well, that momentum was fun while it lasted.
Yeah. The only other match on that show, on this week's show, though, was Arya Daivari defeating Jake Atlas. So it was Arya Daivari's first match back in a while in NXT, and he beat Jake Atlas. So yet again, another... kind of weird thing, weird booking decision, I would say, just because, not that I think Jake Atlas is like the future of the WWE by any means, but like, you know, he's kind of a fresh face. You kind of just had him debut with the Cruiserweight tournament, and it's like, and already we're making him feel like just another guy.
You know, it's a shame that I'm not like too emotionally invested in 205 Live, because I've always said that I feel like Arya Daivari is like a bit underrated. I actually like what he brings to the ring. I do agree with you, however, about Jake Atlas. Like, you present him in this way on NXT in this big tourney. He was a little bit a part of Drake Maverick's like big emotional arc of like, I've lost my job, winning the tournament's I'm going to get my job, lose the tournament but gets the job anyway. And now he just feels like just another guy. Yeah. So whatever I feel about Arya Daivari individually, I think your broader point still stands. And I think it's endemic of the entire WWE system that they get these people, whether it's their moveset, their personalities, whatever they bring that really distinguishes them from the pack. And it's like WWE makes this concerted effort to make them feel like everybody else on the roster. It's almost like WWE can't imagine anything other than like a homogenized roster.
Yeah.
And that's really dispiriting to me. But I just wanted to make that quick aside to your point, because I do think you make a salient point. But what do you want to talk about next?
Let's just get right into the riffraff, my friend. We kind of covered, we got our appetizer appetizer in. 205 Live was the appetizer. Now it's time to get to the entree. It's time to talk about Raw and SmackDown. And, I didn't really do a great job of organizing everything into nice, neat little storylines this week. But I still think that we can kind of manage to navigate our way through this without tripping over ourselves too much. Let's start on Raw. And let's just start with the first segment on either or on any of the shows that we're going to be talking about today. MVP versus Apollo Crews for the U.S. title last week, where Apollo retained, but in doing so also quote-unquote won the U.S. title that MVP had been carrying around. So he gets the new updated design of the strap, and then he said in a backstage interview that he was going to give the previous design that he had been carrying around, the first actual title that he ever won in WWE, to his kids. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't had a problem with this program. I actually do like the idea of the Hurt Business. I would just like them, I guess, to move on from Apollo and all this, especially if Apollo isn't going to turn heel and join them, which I thought originally. Now I don't think that's so much anymore. As for Apollo, the guy's a solid worker. I was excited about him turning heel and joining the Hurt Business because I do think he's missing that charisma, and that's not an indictment on Apollo. Some people just can't talk, and I don't think that they should be occluded from bigger opportunities because of that. I think that's the time to, innovate, get creative, you know what I mean? And I feel like a faction would have helped him with that. But if that's not their designs for him, then I would say, and I say this respectfully, that he's just a very solid mid-card champion. I think he's a harmless U.S. champion. He may even elevate the belt a little with some solid matches, but I wouldn't expect anything beyond that personally. So
yeah, it's I like MVP, especially as a talker. I think he's a great promo still.
Yeah.
I don't need to see this guy wrestle every week. I don't need to see this guy wrestle every month, quite frankly. He can very easily be in a situation where he only wrestles when a storyline or a situation really calls for it, rather than him being like this active participant in the ring every week. I really feel like they were kind of headed for that at one point, and then COVID hit and people were getting sick, and they were just like, fuck, panic button, MVP's full time again, guys.
Yeah, I don't understand, especially when MVP himself very early on in this run was like, oh, I'm not like a member, I'm retiring, or I'm like shifting to this role, and it's like, could have fooled me. But I pretty much agree with your assessment 100%. Great talker, in-ring worker. I do think again, because of the talking though, which that's what to me puts asses in seats. He's still a valuable asset.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think as far as in ring goes, he kind of reminds me of Jeff Hardy in the sense that he was good at one point, but now he just can't really move anymore. But at least he has the talking aspect to it. I don't really think that Jeff Hardy has ever really been great at.
Yeah, exactly. So what came after this, bud?
Let's just kind of stick with this thread, actually, because the whole match had, the lights flickering and shit like that, and afterwards he actually complained about the fact that he lost because of technical issues. He basically said that his head wasn't in the game and stuff, and he challenged Apollo to a U.S. title rematch at SummerSlam, which Apollo later, accepted. So, it's like, I'm kind of sick of this feud, too. I feel like this feud's been going on since literally WrestleMania at this point. I might be wrong about that, but it feels like that to me. I'm ready, if we're going to stick with Apollo Crews as the U.S. champion, I'm not going to complain about it, but I want something new for him to do.
Yeah, and
especially, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, of course.
Especially because early on in this feud, I thought Apollo was going to turn heel and join MVP, and it seems like that is no longer anywhere in sight, so let's just move on, please.
Yeah, you essentially made my point for me because, I even said at the start of this discussion, I had the same view that you did.
Yeah.
That I thought Apollo was going to turn heel. And again, I was excited about that because I feel like the big deficiency in Apollo's game is his talking.
Yeah.
If that's not in view, though, again, I see him as that solid workhorse champion, but not even, and again, I feel like an asshole, and I'm just really giving serious commentary. I don't see Apollo as a workhorse the level of a Finn or a Seth when they were vying over the Intercontinental title. Yeah, I think he can do good matches, but I don't.
Apollo's kind of a weird case where he can be that workhorse type, if you really just give him the right opponents, but he's not necessarily the type of guy that's going to elevate literally everyone to good matches.
Yeah. And then that's exactly where I'm at, dude. Like, I think he can be solid, maybe even great if given the right opponent. But like, I feel like that's more for him and not for the other guy. I feel like AJ can bring out great matches to everybody. You know, Seth maybe the same way.
And
Apollo,
then even like I would even argue like Ricochet, if we're just talking about guys that can do like crazy athletic stunts. Ricochet might not be able to get a great match out of everybody, but he can make all of his matches memorable because of the shit that he can do in the ring. So even if you just put that U.S. title in Ricochet and let him go out and just blow people's minds every week, I think that would be better and more memorable than Apollo.
But I'll tell you though, man, if they would, because I will say this, because we've already kind of abandoned the hope that it's going to happen, but I do just want to say this, just to make it clear. If Apollo would turn heel, he would run with these guys, and then this is pure fantasy booking, because I know this aspect will never happen, and he would drop that theme for that Ready theme you introduced me to years ago. That's like a solid upper mid-carder right there. I could see him flirting with the WWE title without ever actually winning it. And hell, if they write it right, maybe he could fucking win it. Like, I would buy the idea of him winning it more pointedly. So I think he gets the most mileage by being heel and being in a pack. But as a solo act, he does good matches, but it's like you just got to keep giving him good dance partners. You've exhausted this dance partner. I'm hoping SummerSlam's the end of it. And
that feels like WWE in general right now. I feel like a lot of people are just kind of stuck at this point. Like a lot of people have been doing the same thing for the last little while, and I'm just kind of waiting for something new and interesting to happen. I guess we'll get around to it eventually, but I feel like the retribution stuff is the only thing keeping me awake on Raw these days.
Yeah, and I see people kind of...
Well, I just want to take that back. Retribution and the women.
Yes. And, I was going to say something about Retribution, but I'm sure we're going to actually talk about them because I know they had segments per se, so...
Yeah, I figure, honestly, if you're down for it, I figure we could actually save Retribution for, like, either the very, very end of the whole thing or at the very least when we get done talking about Raw, since they've been mostly on Raw.
That's fine by me, man. So let's just keep the ball rolling. What came after this?
I didn't know if you wanted to go chronologically or if you want to kind of talk about all the stuff that we hated first and then work our way up to talking about stuff we liked.
We can do the stuff that we hated because we're moving through it pretty quickly right now. So let's see what's next.
Awesome, because I don't think I hate anything going on in WWE right now more than I hate Raw Underground.
Oh God. I feel like we could do a whole video like essay on this, but
I know, yeah, dude. That's why I want to just talk about it now because even if it takes us a half hour, it's so smooth sailing after that. I feel like.
Like, is this one of the worst things? Just to like. Okay, wait. Let me back up. I'm sorry,
dude. I feel like you're backing yourself up because you feel like you were about to be hyperbolic, but I think I was also just about to agree with you.
Because like. You can't really say the worst thing that happened to the business when it's already so overexposed in the age of the internet, but like, right. I feel like even if it's exposed, right, you shouldn't be like actively promoting its exposure. Does that make any sense? Like,
no, that's like, I've had this discussion with people before, because like I used to be in a Facebook wrestling chat with like Abel and a few of his friends and Mark, and I think there were like a grand total of like 8, 9, 10 of us, something like that, right? And Foster was in there too. So they can attest to this. I really tried to have a discussion. There were a couple guys in there. One of them, you know what? I'm not even going to use names. If you know who they are, you know who they are. If you don't, it doesn't really matter. But there were a couple guys in there that, like, I was basically trying to explain why I fucking hated Ronda Rousey's promos and how, like, her saying, "Oh, I could kill you with my bare hands, and the only thing stopping me is my, decision not to." Like, the fact that is, like, going so far out of its way to expose the business and be like, "Hey, guys, the only reason that this woman might not win every single match is because this is fake." And their argument was literally just like, "Oh, everyone knows it's fake. It's not a big deal." But I'm just like, okay, again, like, we know movies are fake, right? We know that Han Solo doesn't actually have a magical, beam gun that shoots laser discs or shoots lasers. And we know that, freaking Drax the Destroyer isn't actually a green man with red stripes that stabs people. And we know that fucking Ash Ketchum isn't a real character, a real person that collects mystical creatures. No, like, we know that fiction is fiction, and we can grasp that. The thing is, you don't see Drax the Destroyer literally going up to Thanos and being like, "Hey man, the only reason that I'm not stabbing you with this real knife right now is because it would probably get me in a lawsuit, and also the script doesn't call for it, so suck it."
There's something I want to say, but I want to say it correctly or appropriately, if you will. I feel like there's not enough appreciation for wonder anymore in wrestling. Like it's almost like the idea of like, yeah, it is what it is. Just bare reality is kind of the product. And that really
that feels
saddens
so
me.
influenced by Russo, and it's gross.
Yeah, like it really saddens me on some real shit. On some real shit, it saddens me because again, like, and I don't know, maybe it's just my naivete, right? But I feel like for new fans coming into the product, I'm not just talking about like new fans, like just adults that are like, oh, fine, I'll check out this wrestling. I'm talking about the kids that get into it, and I'm like, I remember that time when thinking that like an Eddie Guerrero challenging for the title, like how is he gonna beat Brock fucking Lesnar? Because it felt legit, and they never really made big bones about it. If anything, they used reality in a different way that, like, augmented the experience. Because, like, oh, man, this is so important to Eddie because he's overcoming addiction, and Brock's just this animal. How are they going to do it? And, like, that's a good way to kind of, unveil the curtain a little bit, generate buzz for a fight. But then when you've got your people being like, oh, I could kill you with my bare hands if I wanted to. I just choose not to. And then this Raw Underground stuff, just so that we don't lose the thread, where you see people doing stuff. And my friend, there's this guy I know, guys. His name's Rick. He used to be an independent wrestler at the Force One promotion in New Jersey. I've told you guys a few stories about the shows.
Just to kind of add on to that, it wasn't just called Force One. It was specifically NWA Force One, right?
Yes, that's correct.
It was an NWA promotion. I just want to, because that kind of gives it, a little bit more meaning behind that name.
Absolutely. And he even said he did a Facebook post on this, and I agree to them 1,000%, where he's like, if you guys are doing this stuff in Raw Underground that's having you win matches, like you saw Dolph Ziggler amateur wrestling his ass off and getting somebody in like a choke. He said, why aren't you doing that in the ring? Because, like, if you're not doing that in the ring, that tells me that you're not really caring about winning, or it tells me that, like, there's a disconnect between what's happening. Well, it literally just proves,
it's literally telling you the stuff that happens in the actual wrestling ring, the one with the ropes that's actually supposed to be like in the center of the entire stage, all that shit's fake. That's all it's telling you. It's literally just like, hey guys, that shit is fake, but this Raw Underground stuff, this is real fighting, y'all.
Yeah, again, and that just goes back to like my central criticism, the thing that really bothers me underneath everything, because you and I have talked about Raw Underground a few times, and I stand by those conversations 100%. There's not enough appreciation for the I want to say magic, but I'll just say mystery. There's not enough appreciation for the mystery, for the idea that like it shouldn't be. I shouldn't have like a dramatic irony kind of relationship with the product where like I know how the bread is made. I don't want that. I don't want that for the next generation of wrestling fans. But I feel like WWE feels like that's their selling point. Like, oh, we're appealing to the quote unquote smart marks. Although if you listen to Al Snow's, lectures, it's like there is no such thing as a smart mark. How can you be smart if you're a mark? And it's I feel like Raw Underground is kind of the apex of that attitude, and I hate everything about it. And I don't know how this, and I'll hand the ball back to you, Ashton. I don't know how this is supposed to make anybody. You know what I mean? Because I've been seeing some people say that, oh, this is going to make Baba Tunde, or this is going to make so-and-so, and I'm like, well, how is this going to make Baba what?
No, Daba Kato.
Oh, Dabba-Kato, excuse me, Dabba-Kato. It's supposed to make Dabba-Kato, and it makes Shayna Baszler look good, because oh, look at that. And I'm like, but how, though? Do you think I'm out of pocket with that, or like, do you agree?
Dude, that's the thing, though. Like, it does. I agree with the people that say it makes those people look good, but here's my problem, right? It comes off to me, at least. Now, I'm sure, I'm not the only. This isn't the only opinion that exists. I'm sure there are going to be people that don't feel this way, and that's perfectly fine. But it feels to me, specifically talking about Shayna Baszler and Dolph Ziggler, because they're people that we actually see on TV relatively frequently, and they've both made appearances where they've looked fucking dominant as hell in Raw Underground. It feels almost like they're going there to blow off steam, and it's like, God, I'm so tired of being held back by this fake wrestling scripted shit. I can't wait to get into a real ring and have an actual fight where I can show my real ability.
Yeah.
And if you don't see how that's a problem for the wrestling business as a whole and for WWE as a whole, I don't want to have to connect the dots for you, but I will. So if they're going into Raw Underground to blow off steam and show off their real ability, what that is telling the entire audience is that everything that happens in the actual wrestling ring is fake, it's scripted, it is, it doesn't actually matter what happens between those ropes. All that matters is what gets put on paper before they enter the ring. That is what that's telling you. That is literally going out of its way to be like, listen, guys, the real talent stands out in Raw Underground. If you care about the real wrestling talent, the real wrestling ability, the real fighting ability, Raw Underground is the only thing that matters. But if you watch the actual product, the Raw, quote unquote, traditional Raw, that's all fake shit. That's all garbage. That's all scripted. That's all just Vince picking favorites. But in Raw Underground, that's where the real fighters get to show off. Like, that's the whole message that they're sending here. The whole message that they're sending is the people who win on Raw Underground are doing so through the merit of their own ability. The people who win on Raw are doing so because they're picked by the writers to win.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. I'm not even going to touch that because I feel like you articulated that perfectly. And just for me on a broader level, it just further shows me how WWE doesn't really have their finger on the pulse at all. Like, I would have accepted this kind of concept because let me just see something real quick here.
Okay.
Because I was going to say I would have accepted this concept. So Fight Club came out in 1999. So that was like late Attitude Era, right?
Yeah.
I would have accepted a concept like that then because Attitude Era did all kinds of crazy shit, and it would have had its finger on the pulse then of the cultural zeitgeist. Because
Brawl for All happened 2 years before that. Brawl for All happened in '97, and that was awful for the business too.
Oh wow, Jesus. But like here,
that's just. I mean, to be fair, Brawl for All, they literally let fucking Bart Gunn bury everyone and then get buried by a non-wrestler. So they kind of themselves over in that one. And maybe, the 2 years later, WWE or WWF at the time, Raw Underground, I mean, they wouldn't have known about Lucha Underground by then, so it probably wouldn't have had that name because they wouldn't have been able to seal it. But they probably would have called it like Fight Raw Club or something. They would have stolen it directly from Fight Club instead of stealing it from Lucha Underground. But I think if they would have tried it 2 years later, maybe it would have been a little bit better than Brawl for All would have been. But I still think it would have been damaging to the business because anything that you put forward with the idea that this is better than our regular product because it's more real buries the regular product. And unless you replace your entire product with that new thing that you're claiming is better and real, it just makes no sense. It's just, what the fuck's the point of watching anything but those segments if you're explicitly telling me that everything but those segments is fake and doesn't matter?
No, you're absolutely right about that. My point was more like I would have at least appreciated it if it seemed like it had some cultural understanding or literacy, but it's not even that. It just reeks of desperation to me. Like, it just, it still would have had its problems, no doubt, but I at least would have been like, well, at least it's tapping into, what's popular in the culture at the moment, like, I get it.
Right.
But it's not even that.
Kind of riding the wave of popularity,
Yeah, I mean, no doubt it wouldn't have, again, your criticism.
I would still, though, I still feel like the riding the wave of popularity thing, like, that's cool, and that works really, really well. But I still feel like if they would have done these exact same segments where they're pretty much telling you, like, hey, guys, this is the real stuff. All that stuff that you're seeing in the ring on Raw is fake as shit. I still would have hated it, even if it was riding the wave of popularity. It still would have sucked.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I've said 2 times now, like, I feel like your criticism stand. For me, the point I'm trying to make is it's not even about connecting culturally. It's not even about tapping into something. It reeks of desperation to me because they see that the ratings are stagnating. And it's just like, okay,
well, and of course they're doing it in the third hour. It's like, God, how many times? And I don't even know if you've ever brought this up or if you just kind of sign on to it every time I bring it up. But how many times have I brought up they need to have their 3 hours of Raw feel like 3 separate hour-long television shows? They need to have the first hour can be like the PG superhero hour. And at the time, when I first suggested it, was like, oh, okay, you could have John Cena and you could have, a bunch of different guys. I don't even remember how far back this goes, but you could have your superheroes and your supervillains in the first hour. Second hour is like a variety hour. That's where you get your tag teams, your technical wrestling, your women. That's when you get all of the stuff that doesn't fit into the first or the third hour. You shove that all in the second hour. And then in the third hour, You make that your more adult-oriented programming. You make that TV-14, like what the War Zone was back in the 90s. You make that more catering to the violent stuff. You make that more catering to the more in-depth, real-life storylines. If you want to go a little Jerry Springer with it, that's when you do it. That kind of stuff. You have 3 hours. You make each of those 3 hours feel like a completely separate show, and suddenly, now you have an actual variety show, kind of like what worked so well for WCW when they were beating your ass back in the 90s.
Right. And yeah, you have said that multiple times, and I have signed on to it. I think every time it's brought up, and I still sign on to it now. Like, if WWE is at a point where they are throwing things at the wall to see what sticks, I feel like maybe a restructuring of the very format itself may be where they should go. Yeah. You know, they're trying these cockamamie things like Raw Underground. When to me, see, I think I've said this before. Maybe we both said it before. I don't freaking know. But I feel like wrestling should be so much simpler than what WWE makes it out to be. Yeah. Like, it's really not that hard. And it's funny because when they do get it, when the light bulb goes off, magic happens. Yeah. Kofi Mania most recently. Yeah. Kofi Mania. Like,
Becky Mania even.
Yeah, Becky Mania. You know, when they finally accepted it, that is.
Yeah.
You know, so you've shown me that you're capable at comprehending what wrestling at its quintessence is. And that, you know, when you distill it down to its purest elements, like, this is what you're left with. And when you utilize those elements, magic fucking happens. But you always try to overcomplicate the process. And again, like, I can do complex and complicated. I feel like Lucha Underground had in-depth storylines, again, that spoke to real things. I called Hell of War, which is pretty much like a really hardcore death-style matchup, right? Because we saw broken glass and barbed wire and all this shit. I called that match. Not only was that I think my match of the year that year, I straight up called that match art. I pretty much did like almost kind of a mini commentary within the commentary, just talking about how that match was a work of art and how it spoke to deeper messages about PTSD and trauma and forgiveness. And it did it all in the confines of like broken glass and blood and fucking stretchers and barbed wire. Like, so I can do complex. I appreciate complexity, especially in something as blue collar as wrestling. Yep. But you've got to do it right. And WWE just, God, man, they just don't really do it right. I'm sorry. And this Raw Underground, I mean, again, go back to your central criticism. You've got these people, quote unquote, blowing off steam. It completely delegitimizes what goes on in the ring. Again, that disconnect that we spoke about earlier. If you can do it on Raw Underground, why the hell am I? Because the way Dolph Ziggler looked on Raw Underground, he should be a 15-time world champion. Like, it's just that simple. Meanwhile, though, like a Drew McIntyre hasn't even appeared on Raw Underground yet. He is the WWE champion. Like, he should just be ragdolling people left and right. Yeah. You know, so it makes no sense to me. By the way,
when's that big scary Dabba-Kato guy gonna come beat Apollo Crews for the U.S. title?
Yeah, exactly. And then just to finish the criticism, Shayna, if you're that much of a badass that you beat 3 people at once, how come Becky beat you with the most fluky like submission counter that you've lost to so many times before at WrestleMania? Oh, while she was pregnant, by the way. I mean,
but isn't the answer obvious? Because that was a scripted finish, and Raw Underground is real.
And that's the real danger, because you say delegitimizes, but I think people need to understand the full scope of what that means, because it doesn't just delegitimize like everything that's happening right now in the ring. It delegitimizes everything that's ever happened in the ring, because people that remember Shayna's WrestleMania loss, they'll look at her on Raw Underground and they'll think, but why did you lose at WrestleMania then? Because Becky was pregnant, and like, you know, she doesn't have the same background that you do. I love Becky, but it's true, she doesn't have the MMA experience that Shayna does. That's a fact, you know. Like, it completely. People need to understand the scope of delegitimizing that's going on here. And that's what makes it so pernicious. So I really don't know what else to say without like falling into redundancy. So I'm ready to move on from this.
Yeah, I think we pretty much aired my biggest problems with the concept already. I did just want to add, as far as my idea for the 3 separate hours, I think it would be really cool if you kind of based each hour on like a certain type of show. Like, for example, the first hour I said can be like superheroes and supervillains, and you can make that PG and you can really target that towards kids. You could base that on shit like X-Men the animated series or Spider-Man the animated series or the Daredevil animated series, shit like that. Like base that on literal cartoon superhero shows that are targeted at kids, so that the ones that would like wake up on Saturday mornings early to watch this shit. You know what I mean? That's what you base that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then the third hour, because I have less of an idea of what I would really want in the second hour. But like the thing is too, first hour, because you're doing superheroes, you could have all of your luchadors in the first hour. You could have all kinds of lucha libre. You could have Ricochet on the first hour. You could have Apollo Crews in the first hour. You could have all of these like exciting acts. You could have Lucha House Party in the first hour. You know, and even like when we're talking about the women, Mickie James would be a great fit for the first hour because she kind of comes off as like the superhero type. She's got like a little bit of like a Wonder Woman vibe to her. Or hell, since we're talking Wonder Woman, Santana Garrett, stick her in the first hour. Have her be the face of the first hour of Monday Night Raw's women's division. Like that, it's so simple, and yet they just do not have any interest in doing it. And then the third hour, you could pretty much do an hour of Raw Underground if you really wanted to, but I would prefer it if it wasn't like shoot style matches that bury everything else. I would prefer it if you would do like a Lucha Underground style hour, because Lucha Underground was only an hour a week anyway. So if you literally just wanted to try and recreate Lucha Underground in the third hour, that would be incredible. I don't think many people would complain about that at all.
No, I
mean, obviously they wouldn't be able to do the exact same thing because it's live and it wouldn't be a pre-taped thing, so they wouldn't be able to do some of the overly cinematic stuff, although right now they would because there's no live crowd. But when we get back to live crowds, they wouldn't be able to. But it would still, I just think that there's such missed opportunity there. And the only reason that I consistently say the middle hour could be like a variety show is basically you shove anything in there that doesn't fit in the first hour or the third hour. Like, if you want to have you know, your women be superheroes, have them in the first hour, or super villains. You know, you could have like a Tamina in the first hour playing the villain. I would almost treat the first hour like a less hokey Saturday Morning Slam. Do you remember Saturday Morning Slam?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean though? Like you really go over the top. Like this is the kids show. If you're an adult or if you don't have kids. Because, you know, some adults have kids and would be interested in it for that reason. But if you're an adult that doesn't have kids, you probably don't want to watch the first hour. Start watching our show at 9. But if you are an adult that has kids, or if you are just a kid, you're going to love the first hour, right? Then in the second hour, it's kind of for everyone. Like, they keep it PG, but they don't lean into it. Because, like, that first hour would be PG, but they would really go out of their way to try and kind of make it G. Just G.
Right.
The second hour would be like a true PG where you can do, you know, you can do a little more edgy stuff. It maybe is more targeted at like preteens and teenagers. You can, but it's like here's the way that I'll describe it. First hour is for kids. Second hour is for families or everyone. Third hour is for adults.
Yeah, that works perfectly. I think.
I would love for them to try that, even if it only lasts like a month. Just to see them give that a shot, I genuinely feel like that would, because then like they could even keep the writing team separate. They could literally have a separate writing team for the first hour, a separate writing team for the second hour, a separate writing team for the third hour. And then you would take your like 30 writers and you would break them down into more manageable groups of 10. And then they would be able to have better communication. They would be able to figure things out. But like, it would make so many of their problems so much easier and smaller to deal with. Like, I almost wish I could get in touch with somebody that has actual stroke in WWE. So literally, in this case, I would pretty much just have to get in touch with Vince McMahon because he's the only one whose opinion really matters. But like, I would love to just pitch this idea to him and be like, so why can't you do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but anyway, I'm starting to feel like we're getting I'm getting a little bit too indulgent here. So let's just move on. Let's talk about later on in the night. Actually, we were just talking about Raw Underground. So I think we've kind of said our piece on Raw Underground. It sucks. It exposes the business. And if you don't understand why that's a problem, I really hope that I at least helped you to understand why I think it's a problem earlier. So let's move on. God, what do we even talk about next? Do we want to talk about Orton McIntyre, that whole build?
Well, given how much we're talking about like stuff that we hate, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Dominic Mysterio yet, because I know that makes you groan every time that's on TV.
You know why though, dude? It's because I forgot about his existence, and maybe that's on purpose. I don't know.
So I mean, since you already mentioned Orton McIntyre, I guess we could do that.
No. We're going with your idea. We're going with the Dominic Mysterio stuff because.
Oh, okay.
I mean, dude, we're going to be doing our SummerSlam preview predictions next Friday, and then we're immediately 1 week after that going to be doing a Payback preview predictions. So we've got something to talk about, but I do want to try and keep it a little bit mum, a little bit, keep a couple cards a little bit close to my chest because of our preview coming up next week as far as the match itself goes. But I don't know if you paid attention to the dirt sheets at all today, but the match was made a street fight between Seth and Dominic.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense, given how quote-unquote personal the feud is with Seth and Dominic.
Yeah.
So that's a stipulation that I can narratively understand.
You know what, though? I don't want to actually tell anybody who I'm picking, and maybe there's a part of that's because I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to stick with who I have in my mind right now. But, like, if this is a street fight, Seth Rollins has Buddy Murphy, and that's it. Austin Theory has COVID. He's not here. One of the members of the AOP has some kind of injury going on, and neither one of them is ever around anymore. Seth Rollins literally only has Buddy Murphy. Meanwhile, if people decide that they want to actually get their hands on Seth Rollins, it could be Samoa Joe. It could be Aleister Black. It could be Humberto Carrillo. It could be Kevin Owens. It could be Dominic's father, Rey Mysterio himself. This dude has 5 guys that could help him. Seth has 1, and we're supposed to be booing Seth.
Yeah. Yeah, that criticism is valid. That wasn't going to be the one that I started out with, but it's valid. I feel like they're trying to sell us that Seth is this scumbag because of, everything he's done to Rey. Which, look, I mean, yeah, I guess in the confines of heel actions, it is particularly heinous. But, I say that, and it's true, but you think about some of the shit that Triple H pulled in his reign of terror, and I never saw anybody as committed to wiping him off the face of the earth. I mean, maybe Shawn Michaels, because that was, like, the big rival. Yeah. But I never saw anybody as committed to wiping Triple H off the face of the earth the way these people are ganging up on Seth Rollins. Like, I don't know, man. Wrestling's a fucking trip. I groan at this because, look, I have no problem with Dominic wanting to get in the business. I don't want to, give him an unfair shake just because we've had negative associations with nepotism in the past. It's a shame because it is.
Wow, yeah. You're giving him far more leeway than I am already because I am fucking done. I am so angry that this little shit is getting a spot that somebody that's actually been working their ass off for years as a full-time member of the roster isn't getting.
Well, see, that's what I was going to get to, though. See, I don't want to dislike him on an individuated level. Like, right. I don't know what skills he's going to bring, whatever. What I don't like, though, is that he's getting a primo fucking feud with presumably the top heel in the company.
Yep.
And, like...
I mean, as much as WWE would like for us to believe that it's actually Randy Orton, it's very clearly Seth right now. I mean, we literally just listed 6 people that he's feuding with right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, dude, and this is like my big criticism here, because you know what a big fan I am with some of the other people that Seth has crossed paths with, namely Aleister just keeps thumping in my head. Yeah. Like, to me, Aleister got bitched out to further the story of Dominic Mysterio. I should have never had to say that sentence. Like, the idea that I did, and it's true, really pisses me off. Because I know Aleister's trying to save face, now with only one eye, I guess, with like Instagram posts and being like, oh, you've awakened something in me. But again, this comes back to another big problem that we've had with the WWE product. Performers using what little creative autonomy that they do have to salvage the wreckage of how they are written. Because the way Aleister has been written in this whole thing as a prop, again, to further prop up Dominic, makes him feel like, and what did I say earlier, dude, at the very beginning? WWE, I think, feels most comfortable when they have a homogenized roster. God forbid if you have somebody break out of the pack with a great look, great moveset, unique talking, unique entrance. Like, that's a threat to them, probably because, and we've said this before in commentaries, you can go in the TWitWoW archives, guys, they probably fear another Rock or Stone Cold, not in the sense of the money value, but, if they feel like they're really talented, they'll leave me. So if we all homogenize
I was going to say, we don't even have to go
leave.
back that far. John Cena just did that a couple years ago. Like, he hasn't been around either. Like, they made him, and they were convinced, like, oh, this guy, he's the ultimate company man. He's going to be a lifer. He's never leaving. And here we are.
Yeah, and, like, but see, though, I gotta say this, too, though. That's WWE's fault. Because that's why you make more than one person at a time.
Yes, that's the problem though with them, is that they see it as, oh, we just have to not make anybody be bigger than the company. Whereas in our minds, it's like, well, you need to make as many stars as possible so that if one or any of them would decide to leave, it wouldn't hurt as much.
Because okay, since we have to be the sensible people in the room, I'm gonna do my share of the responsibility, and I'm just gonna say it. To me, it has less even to do with fucking star power. Like, the nature of the business is a bitch on the human body. Yep. And people get old. Like, I feel like Cena finally did fully transition away when he was in his late 30s, if not like 40. Did you expect him to main event WrestleManias when he was like 52 or some shit? No, like,
Ric Flair was doing that shit.
But I'm guessing he wasn't doing it well. I'm guessing people that saw Rick in his 30s and shit would be like, that's my Ric Flair. And people that saw Ric Flair in his 50s were like, I don't know him. And so John Cena, to me, gave the best years of his life to that company. And now he's having a second wind of best years because he's in an entirely different profession qualitatively from wrestling. That's normal. That's human fucking nature. And if WWE... And it is peak Vince, right? Fuck human nature, damn it. I'm stronger than human nature.
Yeah, that's the thing. They need to stop trying so hard to stifle it and just embrace it and really embrace more of like a next man up mentality. Like, oh, you got injured? Well, I guess it's a good thing we have these 3 guys ready to take your place and we're going to let them battle it out to see who's best at it.
I mean, bro, this is why, and it's funny because I mentioned his name earlier, so it's only fitting that I would substantiate it by bringing up his name again with a more thorough example. But, like, I remember, I think it was you originally, and then I went back some time ago and watched it again, an Al Snow clip where he talks about this is why you are cyclical with your performers. If you have a guy in the main event and his main event run ends, then you put him in the mid-card. Then when he's done the mid-card, and you do a rotation with guys. This is why you never let anybody get bigger than the company. That's the real big threat. One, you're not acknowledging human nature, that people are going to grow old, their interests are going to change, their bodies are going to get beat up. It fucking happens. And then 2, maybe blame your fucking self when you give one person literally everything. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't even know. Oh, we were talking about Dominic Mysterio. That's right. And Aleister Black. The way Aleister Black has gotten bitched out because of this. He got his arm taken out, and then fucking Murphy takes his eye out, which, in a way, I can't fully hate it because Murphy's given a lot in the Aleister feud. Like, he still hasn't beaten Aleister one-on-one, so I'm cool with giving Murphy something. But here's the thing. It's not about Murphy, and it's not about Aleister. It's, oh, God, Seth is such a tyranny, and he's got these people brainwashed and wrapped around his finger. Who's going to stop him? Oh, thank God Dominic Mysterio's here. What? Literally, what? I hate it, dude. I hate it because if Dominic was coming in from the ground up, like even fucking people can say what they want about Randy Orton because I know we're going to get to him. But you know what we could say about Randy Orton? At least when he came in 2002, you know who he was working with at first? Fucking Hardcore Holly and Test and those guys. You don't even see that really today.
To be fair, and he also had to go through OVW in the first place.
And he went through OVW. And, he had the injuries and stuff like that, which, I mean, that's not part of paying your dues. We'd prefer people never had to do that. But, it's whatever. You don't even really see that anymore. I mean, you kind of saw it with Charlotte a little bit, but then once it was main roster, it was rocket to the fucking moon. And, you don't see people, because even when Randy was in Evolution, they had him have a long Intercontinental title reign, and even that took a little bit of time. It's so funny that, we have our criticisms of Randy Orton now, but I feel like he's almost the template of how you should handle nepotism. Seriously. Because, they took their time with him, and then, when the rocket went off, it went off, but you were only going to delay it so long, but at least they did delay it. I feel like here, it's you already have Dominic working with Seth? Holy shit, that's bad. Because then what if he shits the bed? You're putting him with a big guy immediately, and Seth's going to have to do the carry job, and to me, that's unfair to Seth. And then I don't want to talk about who I think is going to win either, because I do want to promote our preview and predictions, but I'm not going to like it, regardless of who wins, because if Seth does win, who did he really beat, right? It kind of goes back to that whole Chris Jericho thing where you never bury somebody on the mic. Well, you can't really bury somebody that's never been in the fucking ring. You beat somebody that's probably like just a glorified fan, really.
Yeah.
And then if you're fucking Dominic and you win, well, you might as well challenge Drew McIntyre next, because Seth was more competitive with fucking Drew than he was with you. Like, it sucks, dude. Everything about this sucks. I hate it.
I've gotten so sick of seeing Dominic Mysterio on my TV every single week. You know who I want to see on my TV every single week? Nobody. And I really thought about it before I said that. There was a name on the tip of my tongue, and then I realized, you know what? No, I don't want to see that person every single week either. There's nobody that I really actively want to see every single week. Maybe like Asuka, Sasha, Bayley, like those three. But that's me personally because I'm a fan. As far as from an objective standpoint, nobody should be on your television show every single week when it is 2 or 3 hours long. If you only have a 1 hour long show, okay, fine. You can have your like sort of main characters that you center the show around. If it's only a half hour show, like you're more like sitcom format, obviously you're gonna have the same cast every week, regardless. But 2 or 3 hours, we need some rotation. We need something new every week. We need to get a little bit of fresh blood. And the name that I was almost about to say was actually Aleister Black, who, as you mentioned, has been effectively buried by this feud.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like what you say, not to get lost in my own asshole here, making more of a meta point, but wrestling is such a different kind of television. Yeah. And I don't understand why WWE doesn't lean into that. Like, that's another reason why, God, I'm such a simp for Lucha Underground, Jesus Christ, but it was so good. It was so good. Like, I'm unapologetically so. That leaned into the fact that wrestling is a different kind of television medium.
Yeah.
And it even kind of heightened it in a way with the cinematics and stuff like that. I'm not even asking WWE to do the cinematics because they've had hits, but we've also seen, at least in my opinion, with the Swamp matchup that they've had some misses. But, like, they did rotations. I didn't see Johnny Mundo every week, but then you know what happened because of that? I appreciated him even more when he was on my TV. And, like, that's the thing. You need to have people care about what you're putting out there. And I cared about Aleister a lot when he came in. And now it's like I don't care about him at all. Now, granted, the pandemic hasn't helped me care about anybody, even people that I adore like Kevin Owens, because it just doesn't hit right for me at all. But you're not helping matters when you're just like having them there every week. And not only when you're having them every week, but they're not even really doing anything. I get if you have a long arc that's like 40-some episodes, maybe. Believe me, I've seen animes where arcs are like 40-some episodes. So if there's a wrestler with a feud that's like 40 weeks worth of television, cool. But then when their arc's over, you know what you do? You peel them back a bit, right? You take them away a while.
Yeah, that kind of comes back to the cyclical booking you were talking about earlier. But I would say even further, because to me, it's like I would rather see somebody twice a month and have their story get built in that time than see somebody every single week. Because, again, I can't emphasize enough roster rotation. And I get that it's a little bit more difficult to do right now because of the pandemic. I understand that. I really do. But that's why you need to call people up and you need to keep everything circulating. Because the way that it is right now, as soon as they went to USA with NXT, we had a logjam in NXT. They didn't want to call anyone up. They brought a couple people down to NXT because they wanted to try and pop some ratings. And now all of a sudden, the main roster looks thin as hell. I actually looked like the other week, and Raw, believe it or not, has the lowest number of currently usable performers per hour of television programming in all of wrestling right now that I'm aware of. Raw has only got, I think it only had like 55 total performers, so less than 20 per hour. Like, that's absolutely unacceptable. They need to buff the rosters up with NXT talent. They need to get a little bit of a roster rotation going so that maybe only, I don't know, 2/3 of the people that we saw last week show up again this week, and only 2/3, and not the same 2/3, but only 2/3 of the people that we see this week are also on next week. Just get a little bit of a rotation going. You don't need to have a completely different set of faces one week to the next. Just don't have everybody show up every single week. I think that there are some people that you would want to have on more than like, so for example, I mentioned Sasha, Bailey, and Asuka. Have them be on like 3 times a month, as opposed to say like the Apollo Cruzes, or again, even arguably the Seth Rollinses, maybe once or twice a month. You know, just cool it down, get a rotation going, bring in some new blood, and get that next man up mentality. And I know I say next man up, that's because I'm borrowing that phrase from football. They use the next man up mentality in football. When a guy gets injured, next man up, take his place, try your best not to, skip a beat, try your best to, kind of do what he was doing as well as he was doing it, if not better. That's the whole next man up mentality. That's why I'm saying that. If WWE has anybody that decides to leave, all right, fine. I mean, good for you. You kind of screwed us, but good for you. Let's just replace that person with another person that we've already got into a position where we can make them a star. That's the thing that's so frustrating about this, is that the WWE has such a ridiculous amount of human capital in their buildings, and they just are not using a majority of those people to their most potential.
The last thing I want to say about this, because it's funny, we're talking about all this stuff that we don't like, and yet I don't feel like drained or annoyed. I've actually really liked the discussions that have come out of this, is that I feel like the best way they could have gone about this that would have gotten me to care a little bit would have been, okay, so Rey Mysterio loses the eye for an eye match at the horror show at Extreme Rules. You could have had maybe like a WWE exclusive or whatever. Dominic's, in the trainer's room with his dad, maybe he's holding his hand and Ray's like, crying out because, his eye got taken out again. And he's like, don't worry, Dad, I'm going to make this right. But then you would have kept him off TV. You would have done video packages for him training and preparing for Seth Rollins. Because what I don't like, too, is that I don't like that he's been constantly trying to assault Seth Rollins.
I just had a thought.
Physically. Yeah.
Ray and Dominic should have been switched.
Okay, how do you... Well, so, what? Dominic gets his eye taken out, and then Ray's the one out for vengeance?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Ray, the trained actual wrestler should be the one who has the blood feud in the wrestling match. Yeah. And Dominic should have been the one to get his eye taken out. Ray should have been out for revenge because, you took my son's eye out. That is, it would have been so much easier to relate on Ray, or to sympathize and empathize with Ray having to just basically grieve over his son losing vision in one of his eyes, losing one of his eyes completely. That to me is so much more heart-wrenching than a son watching his dad do the same thing, especially when the son is like a burgeoning star and the dad is yesteryear kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like they really should have told that story, but since this is the story that they are telling, I just feel like it would have been better if they would have kept Dominic off TV, because I don't like that he's taking the fight to Seth, and that Seth's actually sweating Dominic a little bit, and that it almost punks Seth out that he needs to use whatever numbers advantage he's got to hold Dominic back. Yeah. I would have kept Dominic off TV. Maybe Humberto Carrillo could have even trained him. That would have made Carrillo look great. Or, I
was even thinking I don't know, Humberto Carrillo should have been in this story instead of Dominic.
Yeah. I mean, again, I agree with you. I'm just trying to think of how you salvage it with what they clearly wanted to do. What they clearly wanted to do was have Dominic in here just to kind of break him in. And it's we knew he was going to be in the business
to me,
eventually.
that is the problem. To me, that's the problem that I'm trying to solve. To them, that's the thing that they wanted the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem that I'm trying to solve is that the problem that the WWE was trying to solve all along was that Dominic wasn't on their television screen and they wanted to be. It's wow, y'all really, oh my God. It's
and I'm just if you're really committed to that path, this to me is the best way to do it, because I already feel like they're making Dominic look too good in his interactions with Seth personally, from what I've seen.
Oh, dude,
And
Paul said something that I was actually thinking. I literally, when I said Humberto should have been in Dominic's place, and you were like, well, they clearly wanted Dominic in this, my first thought was, okay, so just let Humberto call himself Dominic Mysterio. We'll just pretend that's the kid, and he just grew up from all those years ago. Paul literally said they should have had Humberto playing Dominic, and I'm just like, yes, if that's what it takes to have a real, actual, trained professional wrestler in an actual professional wrestling match, I'll take it. Fine. Change his name. It's wrestling. You can do that. It's fine. But give me an actual wrestler. I want a real match, please.
Look, I don't understand how you can establish a precedent with Jason Angle and not abuse the fuck out of it.
Yes.
So that's my final word on the matter. If you have anything else you want to say,
I mean, you're bringing up Jason Angle. Who's to say that Humberto would have even had to be Dominic Mysterio? He could have just been Humberto Mysterio. He could have been Rey's long-lost son that he didn't even know he had until right now. He's literally young enough to be exactly that. He's only like 24 years old and Rey's in his 40s, so Dominic could easily be his actual son. And, by the way, I just wanted to also bring this up. Dominic is only a year younger than Humberto, but Humberto's got like a decade more worth of training than Dominic.
Jesus Christ. Let's see.
It's really
How do
sad
you,
and really gross.
Yeah, quiero conocer mejor a mi hijo. So that's Spanish for, or at least my butchered Spanish for, I want to get to know my son better. So Rey
I feel like the one word in that threw me off was the conocer. I was like, what does that mean again? I forget, because everything else is pretty much caught. But yeah, I would like to get to know my. Oh my God, Kurt! I'd like to get to know my son better. Oh my God.
Renee, I'm really excited about this. But right now, I just want to get to know my son better. I had to get that in there because I'm an asshole. So what came after this?
Are we officially done talking about Dominic Mysterio?
Yeah, dude, I've got nothing of substance left to add.
Oh God, what a relief that is. Now let's talk about Drew Orton, since we were thinking about getting into that earlier, and then you went up to me by bringing up Dominic Mysterio's lame, boring ass.
Oh yeah, okay. So Randy Drew, you know, dude, you're probably going to do the majority of time in this because I really don't have much to say. Like, the feud's harmless. I really feel bad for Drew that he's... in the sense that, like, you know, I don't hate it, but it's not doing anything for me either. Like, it's just there, and I feel bad for Drew because he's WWE champion in the middle of a pandemic, and I get kayfabe-wise and narratively why he's feuding with Orton, because WWE's positioned Orton as, like, the most dangerous guy in the company because he took out Edge, took out Christian, took out Big Show, took out old people, which, not to jump the gun, but that segment he had with Ric Flair last Monday, dude, my ageism jumped out so hard. Like,
wait, in the sense that you wanted Rick to just go away, or in the sense that you were really rooting for Orton to destroy him?
Oh, I was really rooting. Dude, I laughed at Rick so hard when he got low blowed. Like, when Orton was just cradling him and he's just crying out in pain, I'm like, nobody's coming to save you, and that's exactly how it should be. I was, like, Rick got way too comfortable being back in the ring, and God, I was far happier than any normally adjusted person should be at saying our abuse. Like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, you know,
I can't really relate, but I can definitely understand why you would feel that way.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. And, like, on some serious shit, the Rick stuff I feel like was horrible because it's in the middle of a pandemic and you're putting somebody at risk.
Yeah, he's 71, people.
He's 71. Now, Rick was probably like, listen, I ain't no bitch. I'm Rick fucking Flair. Fuck this virus. And, you know, that's his choice to make.
Well,
like
I mean, either that person. Or he was just like, listen, guys, I got all these divorces. I need this money.
Yeah, and, like, you know, I'm desperate, but not let's have a second TNA run desperate, so just pay me.
Wait, you mean to tell me that you're going to pay me as much as I made in a year working for TNA to come out here 2 or 3 times over the course of a month, do a couple of shows and take one? Please, yes, absolutely, give it to me.
And they actually took Rick out again, not to jump the gun, but, you know, we're already here. They actually wrote Rick off with more dignity than TNA would have. Dude, I saw some TNA segments where Rick was down to his underwear, for God's sakes. And Rick's like, wait, you're not even going to punt me in the head? You're going to do flickering lights for Retribution?
TNA, he was doing that shit in WCW. That is not a TNA exclusive thing. He was stripping down to his skivvies. Dude, there was one segment, Ric Flair stripped all the way down to his damn boxers in WCW and then had a fake-ass kayfabe heart attack. And they had to cart him off and shit. They pretended he was going to die or something.
Ric Flair's a trip.
Let me look it up. Ric Flair worked heart attack WCW. Let me see if I can find this. Ric Flair and the heart attack that wasn't. The Post and Courier.
Oh my God.
It was during the holiday season in 1998 when 16-time World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair was in the midst of a red-hot feud with then WCW boss Eric Bischoff. The controversy stemmed from some legitimate bad blood between the Nature Boy and Bischoff, who had quote-unquote, fired Flair 2 months earlier. Bischoff was irate that Flair had missed a TV booking. Flair claimed he had permission to take the night off to see his son Reed, then 10 years old, wrestle in a National Amateur Championship. There seemed to be little room for compromise. A frustrated Bischoff called Flair trash in front of the locker room, in front of a locker room audience, and then threatened to sue him. And then there was this whole thing, and then blah, 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 blah. Let me get to the actual segment. Let's see. Here it is. Cooler heads, though, would ultimately prevail when it was determined that money could be made from this controversy. Making the best, or was it the worst, out of the situation, Bischoff decided to add some sizzle when he wrote the legal battle into the storyline, asking Flair to feign a heart attack on national television in an attempt to hype a match between the two at that year's Starrcade pay-per-view in Washington, D.C. I saw it, dude. It was right when I had first started watching WCW too, dude. It was like, because I started watching the first WCW pay-per-view that I ever watched was Halloween Havoc 98, and this shit happened in December of 1998.
I don't know, just all the stuff with Rick lately, and I think stuff going on in the country with like Joe Biden as the Democrat, and like my ageism has just been really flaring up. So seeing Rick get taken out like gave me some peace. But and you know,
dude, I will say too, I wanted to just actually, I really wanted to do this during this commentary, and I just figured now's the time to do it. I want to give WWE props for using this retribution angle as a way to turn the lights out, to make it seem like they're having people take these extremely dangerous bumps while not actually having them take said bumps. Like specifically Ric Flair getting punted in the head and Alexa Bliss getting thrown from like 9 feet in the air.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I sign on to that commendation with you. I think it's very responsible of them to do that. And here's the thing, too, you know, about that segment, you know, which was like the latest buildup. Yeah.
When we talk about how responsible it is for them to do that, it's like it kind of gets sullied by the fact that they're still running shows in the middle of a pandemic in the first place. Like, how safe is it really?
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, as far as like the whole segment, I know a lot of people gave credit to Flair for his promo, and yeah, it was all right. I actually thought Orton spit a lot of truth at Rick. I was like, who's really the heel here? But, you know, it was handled as well as could be expected. I think the problem with it, and again, this is where I feel bad for Drew being a champion under these circumstances. You know, they're going to try and make it emotional because, oh, Rick's a legend or whatever. But, like, and this is me being serious. I know it's going to seem like I'm making, like, an asshole point. I'm really not. Can we just remember that Rick's kind of a dick? Like,
yeah.
Because here's the thing, dude. Like, when Christian tried to do the same stuff, like, hey, Rick, you know, I respect you, but, like, this is my fight. I got to do this. Who set up Christian to be kayfabe injured? Fucking Rick when he low-blowed him. I'm sorry, Rick, in a narrative context, doesn't deserve my sympathy. Because even after Orton did what he did, Rick went on Twitter and he tweeted, let me see if I can find it because I'm on my other Twitter, so wrestling names don't come
did he
up
put out more shit about, I still think you're the greatest of all time, Randy?
Pretty much, yeah, he said, August 11th, and I'm quoting here, I wanted last night to go differently. What I would have said is, I don't know what would have happened if my son was in the business, but I do know what Charlotte has done, and like you, Randy, she is much better than I ever was, just like you have surpassed your father. That's it. And it's like, dude, he just low
God.
blowed you and kicked you in the head.
I
and
don't
you're
know
pretty
what
much
makes
like-
me angrier about that statement. The fact that Ric Flair is unironically tweeting that his daughter and Randy Orton are both better than he was ever in his prime, or the fact that he's still sucking up to Randy Orton after getting punted on TV.
And focusing on this particular like segment and stuff, I'm gonna focus on the latter half of that he's still sucking up to Orton after all this, because it's like, why should I sympathize with Rick when he put Christian in danger, where he was an active participant in, you know, Kevin Owens getting involved in their shit, because Orton and Kevin Owens had a match that Orton unfortunately won. I really hate that Kevin Owens is in the spot right now. You know, Big Show, who, even if I don't care for these people, just again following the narrative. And then, you know, so that's my whole thing with that. Now, apparently, Cheevan was like, "Okay, we talk about Drew's promo. We're going to talk about all of it, Cheevan. Don't you worry." Because
what promo? I might be forgetting this promo by Drew.
Wasn't it just about like how Orton really wasn't a locker room leader, and how like he hasn't really built anybody or given anything to anybody?
Okay, yes, I know what you're talking about now. Yep.
Okay, so what did you think about that promo, man? I'm going to hand the reins over to you for a few moments here.
Yeah, well, that was this week. I didn't know if you wanted to still talk about that, if it happened this week, or if we wanted to kind of...
Oh, yeah, because we also, it's past 2 weeks. So what happened last week with this feud, I guess? Because we've talked already like a lot on the Orton side what happened this week. But what happened last week?
Last week, I know that there was a promo. Maybe, wait, was it last week? I'm not actually entirely sure what week that exact promo was. I know that this week, I think Drew did cut a promo on Orton this week, but I don't think it was that one.
Are you sure? Because I thought it was. Let me look and see real quick.
This week, I think the only thing that Drew did was come out to save Rick.
Really? I could swear
Yeah. He came out and chased Orton out of the ring, called him a son of a bitch, checked on him, and then mouthed, "I'm gonna hurt you, Randy. I'm gonna hurt you bad, you evil son of a bitch." So that was like the whole ending of Raw this week. So this promo must have been last week.
Interesting. I could have sworn it was this week, but okay. Either way, we're going to talk about it. So if it was last week, what did you think of it?
Is it last week? Yeah, I think it was last week. Let me just see if I can actually find like a transcript of the promo, because I only barely remember it. Let's see. Makes his entrance. Said Orton's been preying on vulnerability for 20 years. Yeah, this is the one right here. Actually, it is last week. Said Orton isn't the kind of guy who would show you how he felt with a finger gesture like Steve Austin, or by throwing his elbow pad in the crowd before dropping an elbow like The Rock. He said Orton's the kind of guy who got him with an RKO out of nowhere. Said the lesson was learned because Orton told him it was coming, and now it will never happen again. He recalled there being a time when Vince McMahon looked both of them in the eye and told them that they were the chosen ones in the future of the industry. McIntyre paced around the ring, said things didn't go according to plan, and that that wasn't Orton's plan. He said that he didn't know if it was Orton's plan A, B, or C. He said Orton didn't grow up in Scotland dreaming of being WWE champion. He said it was handed to Orton. He said he doesn't resent Orton for it, but he does find it funny when Orton brags about his early accolades that were fed to him with a silver spoon because his father was Cowboy Bob Orton. He said he never rode in limos, and he didn't have Evolution to clean up after him. Said that when he made mistakes, he was punished or even at one point fired for the mistakes. He said that he deserved to be fired, but he said that he's spoken to people who have cleaned up the crap for Randy Orton that felt like he deserved to be fired way more than Drew ever did. And then Orton came out alongside with Rick, because this again was before he turned on Rick, and basically asked if him respecting Drew wasn't enough, and that Drew chose to pay him by telling the world that he was handed everything and all that shit. And then Drew came back basically saying, "How many times have you reached down and pulled people up to your level? Never." He said he brought up Edge pulling Orton out of the proverbial hole 10 years ago, said that Orton's world was crumbling around him, and that McIntyre said that his own world was crumbling around him, and that his mother was sick, and he was tens of thousands of miles away from home, and Orton could have talked to him then, but he didn't. He said that he sees Orton as a selfish prick and that he has a bunch of receipts to cash in at SummerSlam for himself and others, and that he promises Orton that he'll see it coming. So there was that whole thing about how many people have had to reach down and pull you up when you were at your lowest, and how many people have you done that for? 0.
Exactly. So, yeah, from what I can remember of the promo, just like Drew's delivery and everything, I liked his delivery. Drew is very believable to me as WWE champion, and he speaks with a lot of conviction and a lot of upside from him. So I don't want to be critical on this, but like, maybe it's just me, maybe it's a John problem, but I don't really care. Like, I get that you want to be a better leader, and you're kind of taking Orton to task for like not being that leader, but I don't really see how I can sink my teeth into that. I don't really see how that directly affects you, especially when you did bounce back from all of that and now you're the WWE champion. So I feel like the way that they're just positioning this feud to try and give it more teeth than it needs. Like, again, this is a feud that I think would benefit from the KISS method. Orton's dangerous, and now he's dangerous to you because he wants your title. You want to stay champion. That's simple. You know, you don't have to overcomplicate it by having Drew suddenly have this sympathy for Rick, which to me makes no fucking sense. Yeah. Because if it was up to Rick, he would have set you up to get beat the shit out of by Randy.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's my problem with this feud, dude, is I feel like they're overcomplicating it. I feel like what made the Drew Lashley feud that happened only a few months ago so successful was that they really didn't overcomplicate it. Look, Bobby Lashley's dangerous because he's refocused. He's not focusing on Lana or posing or any of that. He's got MVP in his ear, who's had run-ins with Drew before. And this is a guy that Drew can't toss around like he's tossed around other guys. And they had a really good pay-per-view match to the point where I'm still pissed that we didn't get a proper rematch.
Yep.
You're overcomplicating this. Orton is a dangerous challenger. And you know, they did this right before. Now, granted, it was a long fucking time ago, so I'm going to date myself. But I feel like that's pretty much how they did 2007 SummerSlam with Orton and John Cena. John Cena was the hot WWE champion the way Drew is now. This was when Orton was punting people in the head and really being like the really cold Viper. I think this is when he was transitioning out of Legend Killer into Viper. And it's like, yeah, these forces are colliding. You should have done the same thing here, but now you're trying to create this backstory where it's like, oh, it's personal for me because when I was at my lowest, Randy wasn't a locker room lead. People that have made our business great, and like I take this responsibility onto myself, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, just make it.
Oh, wow. I feel to this promo to me because to me this was like, I believed every single word that Drew said. I thought this was a great promo. I feel like this got people who weren't already invested in seeing Drew beat Orton's ass. This was the kind of promo that would work to get them invested. This is the kind of promo that gets people wanting to see Drew beat the shit out of Orton because it's like Orton already, like we know he's a heel, we know he's a bad guy. This is just taking it up another level to me. I think that this is a great promo for that purpose.
See, I think Drew delivered it well. Again, and that's why I wanted to be careful in my criticism, because I don't think anything was wrong with him personally. I just think for me personally, I just felt a disconnect. I don't care about this. I just feel like I care more.
I think you and I might actually be on opposite ends of this spectrum, because I genuinely could not give fewer shits about whatever the fuck Randy Orton is doing at any given time. Like, I actually posted a comment, because somebody posted on Reddit, Randy Orton is the MVP of 2020 for the WWE. And I had like an immediate visceral reaction to that. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I guess it's just because Orton's been getting a lot of promo time. People have been impressed by his promos. But like, let me just read my promo here and see if you and I are on opposite ends of this, or if we actually do agree on this low key. I said, I guess I'm in the minority because I feel like Orton just sucks the life out of everything he touches. I was so damn excited about Edge being back, potentially even feuding with AJ Styles, since that's who eliminated him from the Royal Rumble, and then we got the Orton feud. I was somewhat invested at first, but the WrestleMania match was so long and drawn out and repetitive, and then it just kept going. Even now, I'm not the biggest Bobby Lashley fan, but the feuds with Ziggler and now Orton have got me begging for Drew to go back to feuding with Bobby again, because I felt like that feud was so much more compelling, and I love that match too. Orton just bores me to bits. Like, really, at the end of the day, Randy Orton, I don't care how good his promos are right now, and frankly, I don't even think that they're that great. I think people are overrating them because of the content rather than the delivery, but at the end of the day, he just bores the shit out of me.
And I agree with you. But see, again, like, to me, my interest, I just wanted it to be a simpler feud is what I'm getting at. I feel like they're doing way too much with it for me, because I feel like my interest in Orton is just that, like, he's a heel, he's terrorizing. Well, I wish he was terrorizing more of the locker room, and so he's just terrorizing old people that I really just don't care about.
Right.
And now Drew's kind of taking it on himself, like, I've got to defend these people and what they stand for. And again, Rick is a big problem too, because if Randy didn't do this, he probably would have found a way to low blow you, Drew, and be like, "Oh, I'm just a frail old man. Please don't Claymore kick me." And then he turns around.
Yeah, shout out to Paul in chat earlier. He brought up, oh, hey, remember when Ric Flair sexually assaulted Becky Lynch on a pay-per-view?
Yeah, like, I do not care.
Not even just a pay-per-view either. That was on WrestleMania, wasn't it? Or was that a Royal Rumble?
That was at Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Yeah, because I do not care for Flair. Yeah, there's a little fine fucking quip for you there, Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, that applies just universally. If your last name is Flair, fuck you.
Yeah. So to me, I guess, and it's okay that we disagree on this, because if it is working for people, that's awesome. That's what wrestling should do. For me, I think it's overcomplicating it. I would have just rather had the dominant champion threatened by a guy that's, like, really been making statements, and now really they really should have just built it around. Randy Orton even said in a promo, I woke up today and I wanted to be WWE champion. So get ready, Drew. That's it. And, like, yeah, just play it straight. And I think you're trying to add melodrama that just really irritates me more than anything, because Orton, to me, can't carry melodrama precisely for what you noted, because he's boring as shit on the mic. Like, people...
But he doesn't need to, because Drew's so damn good at it.
And he is. But to make a parallel... And it's funny, because I saw some people criticizing the fireball spot on NXT, like how it was executed and everything. But, like, I'll be honest, dude, that kind of drama with Cross beating the shit out of Dijakovic and Lee just stewing and all that stuff, I feel like that's drama that's been better handled than the drama that Ross tried to create between Orton and McIntyre. Yeah. So it just shows that, like, while it may be a me thing, and I guess you could always say that about everything because, stuff like this is subjective, I just feel like I'm responding better to Lee Cross than McIntyre Orton. And they're both kind of have those dramatic threads. I just feel like Cross Lee is handling it so much better than McIntyre Orton. So that's just really where I come away with it. So.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. And the thing is, I don't even know if I disagree with you. Because, like, I just don't really, I didn't even think about the idea that they were overcomplicating it. Like, that didn't even cross my mind. That's not even a criticism that I thought, like, that I'd thought of in general. Like, it's just not.
Right.
That's just not something that even entered my mind. I was just enjoying how good the promo was. And I was like, wow, Drew's cutting a great promo. This is awesome. I'm really glad that they're giving Drew this mic time. He needs more of this. We need more promos like this. And he's really exposing Randy Orton, because it's like one of those things where you kind of always hear these promos about, like, oh, you were given everything, whatever. But you never really get that deep of an explanation of, when we say that you're given everything, what we really mean is, when you were first learning how to do this and you sucked, people helped you. And now you might tell people that they suck, but you never helped them. So what kind of a leader really are you? That hits me on a level that I wasn't expecting it to. And I just really have a deep appreciation for that sort of, how do I explain this? That mentality, the mentality of you sort of keep the buck moving, you kind of you pass it on, you share the love. If you got help, you give help. Even if you didn't get help, if you make it to the top, you give help to people that need it. Like, that's a mentality that I firmly believe in. If you succeed, your job is not only to benefit from your own success, it's also to help other people succeed with your success. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
That really resonated with me. And even if you feel like they're going a little bit more complicated and more convoluted than they need to with this specific storyline, I'm just glad that we got that line from Drew regarding Orton at all, because that's going to stick with me for a while.
Absolutely. All right, man. I don't want the conversation to get circular. I feel like we've both said what can be said. So what else is there to talk about as it relates to this feud? Or are we just
as it relates to this feud, nothing, I don't think, because I think last week was the big promo, and then this week was the Drew or the Orton Flair segment with Drew kind of coming out for the save at the end.
Yeah, because the only other thing that happened was Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens, and I really have nothing to say about like Kevin Owens lost, and like that's all that I really care to say. Like he had an RKO and he lost. So yeah, if you want to move on, we definitely can.
All right. We should have talked about this earlier. Nia Jax
What did she do again?
assaulted an official and then didn't apologize for it.
I don't care. I'd like see. It's funny because like I feel like the other stuff that we've been negative about, it hasn't like dulled my mood because I feel like we've had great discussions about all of them. What discussions are there to be had here? She's a talentless waste. I hate her. Like I'm not gonna back down from that. Like I hate her. I hate every time she's on my TV.
I mean, to be fair, I can honestly say she wasn't on this week's Raw, and I didn't miss her one bit.
I didn't miss her either. And look, I've really tried, and I don't know, maybe it's not showing. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough. But like,
didn't she get suspended last week? Oh, that's right. Yeah, Pat Buck was the one that did it. Yeah, Pat Buck was the one that she assaulted, and then she brought him out to the ring. Like she was going to apologize to him, and then she said that he was like a crying runt, and then he couldn't cut it, so he stepped up to her, and she like just cut him down, and she challenged him to a match and said that he would get his apology after the match, and then he was just like, I think this is the first time that this has ever happened, honestly. Maybe it would have just taken Nia calling him a coward. I don't know if she did already, but I don't think she did. Maybe that's would have been what it took to get him to accept. But he straight up said, no, I don't want to match with you. You're suspended indefinitely without pay.
Yeah, like, I've tried to be kinder and not turn up in like a scumbag way ever since the whole Hana thing. I even have it on the pinned tweet for Q&A, like no more scumbag questions. I'm trying to like mature and, give more serious commentary. But here's the thing about that, because I've seen this on Twitter too. We shouldn't let that incident, even though it was really tragic, make us feel like everything's off the table, because there is such a thing as legitimate criticism.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there is it's not even a fine line. There is such a stark difference between criticism and bullying, and we need to very clearly identify that distinction, and we need to be able to really heavily lean into criticism without getting anywhere close to bullying.
Exactly. Like, and the genuine criticism is she's not good at this to me. I'm not entertained by her at all. I'm in fear of the lives of the people she shares a ring with. Her promos are so cringe. I feel like she has no sense of delivery, no sense of personality to me. And I'm sorry, I fundamentally do not enjoy her. And I feel like I want to stop myself there, because that is the nicest way to put it. I fundamentally do not enjoy her. I don't give one iota of a fuck of anything she's a part of. You could have, and thank God that'll never happen again. You could have somebody when Kyrie was still working in the company. They could have been like, Kyrie, we're going to put the title on you. You're going to do a program with Nia Jax. Congratulations. This is one Kyrie program I can't care about. Or at least she's going to have one hell of a mountain to climb, because she drags down everything. And like, I hate that she's still employed. And I hate that she still gets to do this because of the nepotism that we talked about at length about Dominic Mysterio and Charlotte and all those people. And I really hope she never again becomes women's champion. I'm not holding my breath, though, with how this company operates. But this whole ref thing, it's like, and can I just say, too, is like a little added thing, I hate that WWE seems so staunchly opposed to like intergender wrestling, but we'll let Nia Jax like emasculate like certain men on the roster. That's okay. So
yeah, for no reason too. Like, what the fuck did Pat Buck do to deserve that shit?
Yeah. Like, I just fuck, man. Like, I don't know. Like, what else is there to say? Like, I'm really trying to be as nice about this as I can, but I really don't like her, dude. Like, at all. I don't think she adds anything to any feud she's a part of. She doesn't add anything to any segment she's a part of. She is a waste of TV time to me, when I would rather see women in the company better positioned, because I know we'll talk about this on the more good stuff. But you could have been doing this to like build Ruby Riott. You could have been doing this, build Iconics more than you are. Fucking there are women out there, and admittedly I am struggling with some names just because the whole company's a mess right now. But like when Nia gets these spots and she gets to look the way that she does, because presentation is everything, it just really sucks, because it's like she's not going to carry it to the finish line. That's why, like, I've defended Sasha and Bayley because people are like, oh, they're overexposed. No, this is their fucking era. Like, they have worked so diligently and so hard for years for the TV time they've gotten. And now, with Asuka especially, she's working double duty at SummerSlam. Why? Because whether we agree with it or not, and I have my criticisms of it, I think it sucks when anybody has to pull double duty, but you can't deny Asuka has worked her ass off during this pandemic era. And she has consistently shown, you give me the ball, I'm going to score with it. When has Nia Jax ever, honestly, if we're having an honest conversation, when has she ever scored with the ball? Even being a babyface in a bullying storyline where she should have succeeded and it should have been a positive thing for the company. You know, she could have maybe done things with, like, be a star or what the fuck ever. Even that floundered. And that should have been the easiest thing to me to score. Like, bullying is like babyface feud 101, you know, you can score some points for us, make us look good, some good PR to stand up to bullies. And even then, because she's so fundamentally uncharismatic, it's like, wow, that fell flat. I really didn't care about you getting this comeuppance.
Yeah, that promo that she cut after the title win, yeah, that was brutal. She was supposed to be a face and she got booed. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was a little while ago, though. That was like, what, 2017, 2018, probably?
Yeah, 2017 sounds about right. But I'm going to stop myself here, dude, because I don't want to be circular now, but I just really had to get that off. Like, I know you said that was next. Like, I really have nothing to say other than just how much I dislike her. So, yeah that's it. That's it.
All right, so we have 3 Raw exclusive angles left, and then after that, we can talk about Retribution if you want. Or again, I forget if you said, would you rather talk about Retribution at the end of Raw or the end of everything?
We can talk about them at the end of everything, I feel like.
So we'll save Retribution for absolute last then.
Yeah.
Because I just figured you'd want to save Sasha, Bayley, Asuka.
Oh, you know what? That is fair, because that's been really good. Yeah, then we'll talk about you said how many more Raw stuff before Retribution?
2.
2? Okay. Yeah, we'll do that then, because Sasha, Bayley, and Asuka do deserve the main.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of 2.5. I don't know if you wanted to kind of wrap Shayna in with the Sasha Bayley stuff, since it's kind of, she's connected to that.
A little bit. Yeah, we could touch on her, sure.
Okay, we'll wrap her in with the Sasha Bayley stuff, so then it's just 2. First one being, though, the tag title picture, which is just a disaster, in my opinion. Street Profits are, God, 2 very talented guys. Let me just start with that. Street Profits are both so talented. I love them both as talents. I think that they're both so very good in the ring, so very charismatic, especially Montez, obviously, is the more charismatic, more athletic of the 2. But Angelo Dawkins, I think, is the better worker, personally. I think Angelo Dawkins is a fucking workhorse, which is weird, because, like, there was like this weird trend in, like, the late 2000s, early 2010s, where there was always, like, a big guy, little guy tag team, and the little guy was always the worker. But in this case, the big guy's the worker, and the little guy's just, like, the athlete, the guy that does the stunts, you know?
Yeah.
And even then, like, calling Montez Ford a little guy is really not doing him justice, because that dude is, like, 6'3" and ripped to the gill. So calling him the quote-unquote little guy is still kind of almost insulting. So it really is just, like, a 2 big guy tag team. But again, like, can't emphasize enough how talented they both are, but holy shit, does their presentation suck balls on Raw.
Yeah, it does. You take this one away, brother, because I went on a fucking monologue about Nia Jax. How do you feel about this?
I wasn't planning on you doing that either. I was like...
Yeah, I'm sorry. It just
you let it get carried away.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good. We're fine. But I love Montez Ford. I love Angelo Dawkins, and I loved their dynamic. Well, you know what? Loved, for me, is maybe going a little bit too far, but I did enjoy their dynamic in NXT, and especially when they really hammered down and got serious about winning matches, and they were like, okay, we're going to try now, and it wasn't just about, like, the fun and the partying and stuff. Loved that storyline for them in NXT. Everything that they have done since getting called up to Raw has just been slowly chipping away at my good graces that they were in. And I have gotten to the point now that when they're on my TV, as soon as Monday Night Football starts, it's going to be time to flip. Because the Street Profits, the way that they have been presented on Raw, I hate it so much. They are not fun anymore to me. They're more annoying than anything. They get on my nerves. They make me roll my eyes. Everything about the way that these characters have been written as on the main roster is so much more cringe than good, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, 100% agree. I don't even know what this current feud with Garza, Andrade, and Zelina even is. It's funny because I feel like Bianca and Zelina are the best part about that feud. Like the stuff they've been doing.
If we were to get any singles matches out of that, like I think I would want Angel Garza versus Montez, and then Andrade versus Angelo, and Zelina versus Bianca, and I would not be surprised one bit if Bianca versus Zelina ended up being the best match out of those three.
Yeah. It's crazy that like the women and, you know, Zelina's a manager and Bianca's, I guess, kind of a part-time valet for them because I know she's focusing on her own career. You know, they're really the highlight of this. I mean, come on, dude. Who poisoned Montez Ford? Are we really fucking
That was
doing
the big
this,
story
dude?
last week. Like this week, it was more just like they're convinced it was Zelina, so they're going to just try and target. Well, Bianca specifically is going to target her and stuff. Last week, though, that was the whole story. Montez passed out twice. Like, I'm sorry, but if you got poisoned with something that knocks you out, you're not going to regain consciousness only to lose it again a few minutes later.
Yeah.
It's not how that shit works, Raw writers. What are you doing?
That's not how any of this works.
It's like, oh, I want to throw the yellow flag. False start on the poisoning. It just made him pass out a little bit too early. We need him to wait on that till he's actually in a match.
Exactly. Dude, it's so hokey. It's hokey as shit. I can't, man. I can't.
The thing is, too, like, when it first happened, I immediately absolutely loathed it because I didn't know if they were going to do, like, oh, he has a condition, or, like, it was like, oh, he's sick, he's got COVID, he has a fever, we need to get him out of here. Like, I feel like there was no possible way for them to approach that was in any way tasteful. And then they found a way to make it kind of tasteful in the sense that, oh, he was just poisoned. But that also just made it even more stupid. Like, it made it less offensive, for sure, than what it could have been. But it still just made it stupid. Like,
I mean,
we went from me being downright angry and ready to, like, full-blown rant about that shit on Twitter to me just being like, wait a minute. Okay, so I'm not angry anymore, but also, what the fuck?
You know, I think what, and I'm going to sound so hypocritical because I need to be clear here. I hate when WWE does camp. You know, it's rare that, like, they do it right, and I'm like, wow, I actually enjoyed that more than I should. I would actually classify Retribution as such a thing, and we'll get to that later because I know people have been shitting on that, but I grin when they're on. But again, we'll get to that later. But, like, I want them to at least be honest about what they are. I think that's what fundamentally pisses me off about WWE, and more pointedly when they do angles like this, because they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to do stuff like this that you, me, and everybody, we can all agree, right? It's just utterly ridiculous, right?
Yes!
But then they want to treat it right. They want to treat it with a kind of gravity and like there are stakes here. Like, I would respect it. Not saying I would.
And dude, it's made so much worse by Raw Underground existing because Raw Underground is like, hey guys, this is real, this is gritty, this is the underground, this is where the real stuff happens. And then we're supposed to believe that this dude got poisoned and that we're supposed to take that seriously.
And again, like, I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying I would like it. I'm not saying I would like it. But I would respect if WWE was just honest and just did 100% camp. Because you know what this made me think of while you were talking? Because do you watch Netflix's Glow? Because I know you know that I watch it.
I do not.
You don't watch it. They did an episode where they actually wore, like, the Glow promotion where, like, all these characters had, like, their own backstory. So the woman that was, like, a scientist, it was the whole thing about her lab and why she wrestles because something went wrong in her lab and this and that. I mean, dude, let's just go fucking 80s with this shit. Montez in the hospital, Bianca holding his hand, like, ready to fight somebody, and the doctor's like, if you don't find out who poisoned him, we can't get the antidote in time. And then they just try, like, own it. Fucking own it. Like, again,
Fashion Files, except Bianca's a PI trying to find who poisoned her husband.
Dude, hell yes. I'm not even saying I would like it. I'm not saying WWE would do it well, so I do not want people to put words in my mouth. Please. I am just saying that would be more honest than what you're fucking trying to do. And honestly, that honesty would make it just a smidge better than what it is. Because I hate how you're trying to have both of your feet, like, on each side of the aisle. We're going to be camp, but it's going to be serious camp, though. It's going to have gravity. Who poisoned my... Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like,
it's like a really bad stand-up comic who tries to tell a joke and it doesn't land, so then he tries to be serious about it, hoping that he can get people to laugh at his like shock value, like, oh no wait, I meant that, and they don't laugh again, but then he doesn't want them to hold him accountable for the thing that he just said that he actually did, so he backs off and he's like, oh no, I'm just kidding. It's like, guys, I actually just poisoned someone. Or no, actually, you know what? The joke would start out as, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go poison a guy. And then the crowd doesn't laugh, and he'd be like, but wait, no, I actually poisoned a guy. And then they don't laugh again, and he's like, no, I'm just kidding. It's like, no, you need to figure out what this joke is. Because you're clearly trying to tell a joke, and it is not landing at all. And like, in this case, are we supposed to laugh at the idea that like Zelina Vega is so desperate for her team to win the tag titles that she went out of her way and went to the ridiculous means of poisoning one of the opponents? Or are we supposed to be like, oh, this is the real world, this is serious, this man just got poisoned, he could have died, Zelina Vega needs to be facing repercussions, and it just so happens that rather than being arrested because they sign waivers or something that means that this shit is technically legal, she's just gonna have to get her ass beat by Bianca Belair.
See, now I'm just so amused by my own bullshit, right? Because, like, I agree with you, and I'm just thinking about them being 100% camp. And again, I go back to, like, we go maybe a bit 80s. And I'm also thinking, because I was a huge, like, I didn't watch many medical shows, but House was my shit. And you can even have a doctor like that, like, Miss Belair. It's not looking good. We ran the tox screens, and whatever this poison is, it's invisible to the tox screens. But we've got 20 cc's of romantadefrin going through Montez Ford, but we need to figure out what the antidote is. And they've got Raw on in the hospital television, which is already unrealistic because the hospitals I were in never had wrestling, and it made it utter shit.
Oh, see, I've been in a hospital before where they had a TV that just had cable that you could put wrestling on if you wanted.
Well, you were luckier than I was, because the hospital I was in didn't get wrestling channels on, and I was devastated. They had to bring a laptop in for me so I could be on WWE.com, and because I didn't know about streams and stuff back then.
Nice.
But the doctor has Raw on, and Bianca's like, I'm gonna whoop that trick, and then Bianca goes out, and Zelina's cutting her promo, and the doctor, again, being a total house caricature, is eating popcorn, and he's like, girl. And it just cuts away.
You know what though? I want House in this series to be played by Dexter Lumis.
Yes. Yeah, because why should anything make sense? Why should anything make sense? Yes, absolutely.
Or the only acceptable alternative, Robert Stone.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I can just picture Robert Stone because he has a tendency to make everything about him, at least on Twitter. Bianca, I know you're really worried about your husband, but it could be worse. He could have been hit by a tank. And Bianca's just
yes.
But see how everything you and I just said, I mean, let's be honest, is completely utterly stupid, but at least it's honest.
But at least they're not trying to get you to take it seriously in that case. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, which it's actually, it's already offensive that you would do this to Montez, given the climate of Black life and the vulnerability of Black life in this country.
Yeah.
But to have the audacity to insult my intelligence, I should take this seriously. Now again, to be fair, because I do want to be fair. When I was a kid, and you were a child when the wrestling was doing crazy stuff too. I mean, I saw Shawn Michaels get paralyzed, right? And then he miraculously gets out of his wheelchair, and it's like, I'm ready to fight you, Hunter. And let's not forget Katie Vick. So maybe for the little kids, it's like, oh no, Montez. I bet you some little kids genuinely cried. Yeah,
dude, you say Katie Vick. I feel like we have a more recent generation version of Katie Vick, Claire Lynch.
Yes. And I feel like to be empathetic to the kids of today, putting myself in their shoes, I'm sure some of them that are big Street Profits fans probably cried seeing Montez in that position. So it's not that it's not going to resonate with anyone, but speaking for us as adult men and with adults in our chat, it's insulting to our intelligence. Come on, dude.
I almost wonder, though, how smart the kids are that would have cried at seeing that happen to Montez. Would they have then turned around and gotten angry at Zelina for poisoning Montez, or would they have gotten angry at the writers for having Montez do that in the first place?
I don't know. Yeah, I really can't answer that, man, because I honestly don't know. But yeah,
I just
This
hate
is
everything
so
about this
bad.
feud. Like, to
Yeah.
me, I'm like, wow. You know what would be really cool is if Andrade was Drew McIntyre's SummerSlam opponent, and WWE was just like, I mean, you know, we could do that, or we could have Drew's opponent be Randy Orton and stick Andrade in a meaningless tag title feud that we all know he's below at this point.
Which, I mean, I
Or
agree.
rather, I
100%
should
with
say,
every-
is below him at this point.
Yeah, like, I agree with you 110%. I mean, let's not mince words there. But can I just say, too, that maybe it's just to stick up my ass? That's entirely possible. But I feel like this is yet another feud where I come back to the same problem of overcomplication. Why are we doing this? Why can't it just be 4 guys that can work, wanting those, you know, vying for the tag titles?
God.
But now we're doing this melodrama bullshit.
Do you know what's really awful is that, like, everything that I've ever heard about Paul Heyman has led me to believe that he is a genuine piece of shit and that I would never want to interact with him in the real world because I feel like he would just make me question reality because of the way that he lies in a way that it's almost like if he's opening his mouth, you can probably bet on he's lying, but he lies so much that you don't even know what direction he's lying in. Like, if he tells the truth, I expect him to lie, so maybe he's going to tell the truth knowing that I think he's going to lie, and then I'm going to just believe the opposite, and that's going to be the way that he gets me. Like, I feel like interacting with Paul Heyman in the real world would break my brain, because I would literally not know who to trust for the rest of my life at that point. But, like, I enjoyed the show more when he was in charge of creative.
Yeah.
Like, we were getting an Aleister Black push. We were getting an Andrade push. Buddy Murphy was being featured as a single star. Zelina Vega was being taken seriously. The Street Profits and Viking Raiders weren't doing stupid shit every week. I enjoyed Raw more before Paul Heyman got fired. Like, I hate that I had to say that, but it's true.
I love that, like, we really just went the scene around of, like, man, you're such a piece of shit, but you're so good at what you do. Please come back.
Dude, I don't even know if that's the case. I don't even know if he's that good at what he does because Raw, when he was in charge of it, still wasn't perfect. Like, there was wrong with it. But, like, what the fuck is going on right now? It's like, it really does feel like Bruce Pritchard just has this completely warped view of what makes somebody a money asset versus what doesn't. Whereas, like, I feel like Paul Heyman's view of that was much more in line with ours.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, Bruce Pritchard is just like, oh, man, Dominic Mysterio, look at that last name. Mysterio, we can make money off of that, baby. We gotta push this kid. Aleister Black, who's that? Nobody likes him. Nobody knows who he is. He's nobody. We're gonna bury him. And we're just like, wait a minute. Wait. Can we just, like, worry about talent and not name, please? Because, like, I don't know. I like watching talented wrestlers wrestler. I guess I'm a weirdo for that, right?
Yeah, we're the oddballs here. Oh, man. I've got nothing else to say about this. If you do, we can move on.
God, isn't it weird, though, that Pritchard is running both shows, and yet somehow SmackDown has, if anything, gotten better since he took over Raw? Maybe it's because he has his fans on it less. It's like Raw has taken up so much of his attention that he's been paying less attention to SmackDown, and that's allowed other people to kind of get their hands on SmackDown more, and that's gotten the product better.
Maybe. I'd believe it. I feel
Maybe
like it's
we
a
just
shit
need
show
to
over
give
there
old ass-kissing Brucey boy the boot out the door.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I bet you internally that company's a fucking mess. Because I think I even heard recently that scripts are still being torn up on some shows.
Oh, yeah, dude. I can literally tell you, I literally just read, I think yesterday even, that they were supposed to tape 2 episodes of SmackDown yesterday, and it got canceled. Like, they literally were just, they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do. Like, they're that mess.
Yeah, so...
And now they're moving to the Amway Center, which is, you know, not in the PC anymore. They're going to be in a different venue. They're still not going to have fans in the audience, so I'm guessing they're still going to have, like, the plexiglass setup with the Performance Center recruits out around there for the crowd. But, yeah, they're moving venues now, so they're going to be there, I guess, until, like, October or something.
Yeah, oh, wow, okay. But... yeah, I've got nothing to say about the tag title feud. I just really, really hope that it ends soon. I don't even know who I want to win the damn thing. I mean, I know I'm going to have to pick somebody when we do preview predictions, but tag title scene is kind of garbage at the moment. So what came after this?
Actually had multiple singles matches involving the tag champs. Angelo Dawkins versus Angel Garza happened last week, and Garza actually beat Dawkins. Like, I thought that was kind of cool, but then we also had Andrade and Montez Ford, and that was the match that Montez passed out in, so I guess technically Andrade won that as well. But then this week, Angelo Dawkins beat Andrade, and then Bianca beat Zelina. And I guess Garza, I don't know, did Garza work at all this week? I don't think Garza had any matches this week.
I didn't see it on WWE's YouTube page.
So we had the two matches both weeks. Andrade wins by default one week and then loses to Angelo Dawkins in 4 minutes the following week in a clean fashion. Meanwhile, Angel Garza gets a clean win over Dawkins in 1 week, doesn't compete the next week, but we get Bianca beating Zelina in 6 minutes this week. So, like, God, you know what? From a kayfabe power level point of view, I can't even complain about Zelina's loss because they don't book her like a wrestler at all. They just kind of book her as like a loudmouth manager that occasionally steps in the ring when she has to. If I was in charge of Raw, Zelina would be like one of my top 5 women. I would use the shit out of her. I would probably put the title on her at some point. I think she's an amazing talent. Not just at talking, I think she's a great wrestler too. So, obviously, yet again, another stark contrast in the way that I view things versus the way that the WWE management views things. But regardless, the biggest complaint that I have here is that Andrade goes from winning because the other guy passed out, so not really even winning on his own merits. And let's be clear too, the other guy passed out while firing up, preparing to continue assaulting Andrade with his offense because he was about to do a tope because he had just thrown Andrade to the outside of the ring. And now this week he loses to Angelo Dawkins in 4 minutes clean.
I hate it.
With like a sit-out spinebuster.
And there's the thing, too. It wasn't that long ago that Andrade was U.S. champion. So, like, Angelo Dawkins just beat a former United States champion in, like, 4 minutes and some change. Like,
go after Cruz, Angelo. You got this.
Yeah, really. Really. Unironically, yeah. That's what their booking is telling us. And, like, that just makes no sense to me. Oh, my God. Yeah. So, yeah, I've got nothing else to say. I'm over it.
Okay, I believe that the only other thing that we have not talked about as far as Raw exclusive stuff goes is the Ruby Liv Iconics storyline. So, do you want to kind of take this, or do you want me to just kind of outline it and then you give commentary, or how did you want to answer?
You can outline it and I'll give commentary. That sounds
all right. Well, fun. Last week we had the Kevin Owens show with Ruby. She kind of explained herself. The Iconics came out. Liv came out. They kind of reunited in that moment because the Iconics were talking shit, and then they tried to attack. I forget which one, and then the other one came for the save. So we got a 2-on-2 brawl, and then we ended up getting a 2-on-2 match. We got like a proper tag team match. So that was pretty cool. The match, Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan actually did win. They beat the Iconics. With Liv Morgan picking up the win by pinning Billie Kay. So that was pretty cool. And then this week, we had a singles match. It was Liv Morgan versus Peyton Royce, and Peyton actually won in 2 minutes. I don't like that we're getting these super quick matches again. Like, I already talked about how this exact same episode of Raw, we had a 4-minute match where Andrade lost to Angelo Dawkins. Now we've got Liv Morgan losing clean to Peyton Royce in 2 minutes. I'm just not a fan of that, personally.
I'm not a fan of it either. These women are great wrestlers. Let them work. And I feel like it does a disservice to, the story that they're trying to tell, too, because there is some meat here with Ruby wanting Liv's forgiveness and wanting to make things right with Liv Morgan. And the Iconics wanting to, be kind of spoilers to that because, we're actual best friends and stir the pot because, hell, if they can get these guys to just dissolve, that's one less tag team for them to worry about for the women's tag title picture. Yeah. So you could almost kind of construct that as their motive. We don't need more competition. We don't need the field to become more crowded. We need to, stop this before it really, before they mend fences. So there is weight of meat to this story. But when you do quick matches, it's hard to, build any emotional connection to the story. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I'm happy about Liv and Ruby being reunited. I'm a big fan of the Iconics. I think they're both great. I think that Billy's best work is on the mic, and Peyton is not as good on the mic. Can still kind of, she's still decent at the comedy. She's more of like a straight man in comedy. You know how like she's better at bouncing off of Billy's comedy than she is at coming up with her own. Like she's better at playing off Billy's energy than she is at kind of forging that energy herself. But I also think that she's the better worker. I don't think that either one of them is necessarily a bad worker, but I do think that Peyton is the better worker of the two. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I would agree with that, I think.
I'm only asking because I've actually explicitly seen people basically saying that Billie Kay is an actual terrible wrestler and should not be in the ring at all. Like, almost like suggesting that she's somewhere on the level of like a Nia Jax to the point that she's like a liability in the ring.
Right.
And I just think that that's a ridiculous take, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I could understand that. That being a ridiculous take, that is.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I was going to say.
Because I do think, I'm more in line with you personally. I will say, though, about this whole feud, the only problem I've had with it, outside of the quick matches, because I do agree with your assessment there, I liked the, because I'm guessing the Kevin Owens show segment was last week, because I didn't see it on this week's Raw, because I'm still on the WWE
Yes, it was last week. You are correct.
So it's nothing wrong with me talking about that, because it was last week.
Of course.
That I thought was really well done. The tag match that happened after that, and am I alone in thinking that I didn't like that Ruby and Liv beat them right away? I wanted them to work for their first win as a team.
That's perfectly fair, I'd say.
Yeah, I wanted them to work for their first win as a team. I think it came way too easy, especially when given to, like, again, we always talk about wanting to protect other acts. Iconics are former women's tag champions.
Yep.
Whatever you want to say about their reign, because I know a lot of people would criticize whatever. Kayfabe-wise, again, they were title holders. They should be of a higher. I know you used the term power level, so I'm just gonna appropriate that for a second. They should be higher power levels in a team that should be strained. I would have played it because, again, the Kevin Owens show segment was great. Ruby especially, I think, was the star of that segment. I cannot put that segment over enough. But then when you dovetail it to the match, if I'm Liv specifically, I'm looking over my shoulder when I'm on offense, right? Because I'm like, am I really just facing Billie Kay or Peyton Royce, or am I also facing one of them and my own tag partner? Maybe I would have been tentative about taking tags. Maybe my arm would have been out, but maybe I would have pulled it away ever so slightly. Like, do I really want to do this? Am I really in a place mentally to do this? I would have had them work for it. I think by them getting the first win, again, against former women's tag champions as easily as they did, it kind of cheapens the journey to me now. Because it's like, you say that you still have stuff to smooth over, but you won, so what can you possibly smooth over if you're winning? Like, I know we hate JBL, but I do agree with them about one thing. Like, winning cures everything. To me, the win should be symbolic of, okay, we're at a place now as a team, mentally and emotionally, where we really can be dangerous. Because I want them to be women's tag champions. I should make that clear, too. I would love if Ruby and Liv beat Baysha for the women's tag titles down the road. Yeah. I think that'd be great because Baysha.
I want it too, man. I think that's like, I've been calling for that since before they even reunited.
Yeah, I think that story's pure poetry because you have Baysha who present themselves as the ultimate best friends, but they're starting to crumble a little bit. And then Ruby and Liv, they achieved their redemption. They redeemed their friendship by beating like the relationship in WWE in Sasha and Bayley. I think that feud could be pure poetry from a narrative standpoint, but you already hinder it out the gate when you have them win their first match so easily. I loved everything they did last week except for that. I fundamentally disagreed with that, dude. I had a sharp disagreement with that. In fact, if we were still doing traditional TWitWoWs, that would have been a heat of the night for me.
Full on, 'cause I'm like, I like that though. I like that thinking because it's like you set this obstacle up for them to overcome, and they just immediately overcome it without much struggle at all.
It cheapens it because, like, Ruby's words, she cried. Again, Ruby was the star of that.
But again, though, I gotta emphasize, Liv was the one that won the match for them. Same way that Bianca won a match with Ruby. It's like Ruby is, and God, it's fucking stupid that I can say unironically. But Ruby is like the weak link in all of these teams. She gets carried by her partners to wins. She doesn't actually end up being the one. And that's why she had such a visceral reaction to actually getting that singles victory, because I think that was her being like, holy shit, maybe I actually can still do this.
So, I mean, let me ask you something then, because I don't want to like monopolize the discussion here. Do we feel like maybe I'm kind of criticizing the wrong story? Could this be just more Ruby's story as an individual than Ruby and Liv as a tag team? Is that the story they're actually telling? Because I mean,
know. It almost, you know what, dude? I think this might be one of those instances where the fans are better at making stories out of what WWE does than WWE is, because, and maybe even the performers are better at it than the writers, you know, because it seems like Ruby very clearly was aware, and when I say Ruby in this case, I am actually talking about the performer Dory, who plays Ruby Riott, was well aware of the fact that her character had been on a huge losing streak, that she hadn't won since she came back. I don't know if the writers were aware of that. I don't know if the writers were like, we're going to have you lose a whole bunch so that when you do win, it's going to be a big deal. I don't even know if when the writers said that you were going to win tonight, if they knew that she was going to make a big deal out of it, or if they knew that that was literally her first win in like 9 months or something like that. I don't know if the writers were even aware of that, honestly. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they weren't aware of that, which is precisely the problem. Because I think that Ruby is trying to tell a story that I don't know that the writers are going to allow her to tell to its climax. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
I think Ruby wants. I think Ruby wants this to be a story about her own redemption, and I think that maybe in her mind, and hopefully, you know, well, I shouldn't say hopefully, and very likely in the minds of her fans, which definitely in my mind, they could very easily tell a redemption story where she has to literally build herself back up from the actual bottom, and eventually that it crescendos with her actually winning a championship, which she's never done in WWE before. And it could just be as simple as the tag titles. Like I would hopefully, I would really prefer that it would be a singles title, but it seems like they're really treating those singles titles as like full-blown world titles. If you are this champion, we are building the division around you right now. And I don't think that they see that type of act in Ruby, unfortunately, and it kills me inside to admit that out loud, because I think that she is one of the top 5 or so most talented women on the roster, best overall performers. I would put her in the same category as a Becky Lynch as far as the overall ability to connect with fans and sell tickets and put on great matches, and just everything kind of goes. I think that she's up there with Becky as an overall talent, maybe even a notch better in the ring. I think she is a consistently great promo. I think she might even be better than Becky in the ring, because I think that she just has more athleticism than Becky. I think Becky is just not an athlete at all. Not to say that she's, well, maybe that went too far. I don't think that Becky is much of an athlete at all. I think that she's much more of a storyteller than an athlete. I think Ruby's a great storyteller too, but I also think that Ruby's also a pretty good athlete on top of that. So yeah, I think the argument is there that Ruby's a better in-ring worker than Becky, on top of being a really good mic worker. And I think Becky probably reached a point eventually that she was better than Ruby on the mic. But I think if you would have given Ruby that kind of push, she might have developed into that too. We never know. Because has that mic talent that it's like, okay, there's clearly something here to work with. Let's see how far we can take this. And WWE just doesn't seem to care, or maybe they just don't see it.
Yeah, I think everything you said was right on the money. I think if we're framing this more as Ruby's story, I can be a bit more forgiving with them winning the tag match when Liv got the pin. And actually, you bringing that up, dude, I want to go on Ruby's Twitter. And again, I know we both hate that, you know, build up on social media and stuff like that.
No, but that's kind of the unfortunate thing too, though, dude, is that I didn't say that this is Ruby's story. I said that this should be Ruby's story.
Yeah.
I think Ruby feels like it could be a good story. I think that Ruby's fans think that it could be a good story for her. But I think that there are also a lot of people, and including maybe even potentially the writers themselves, that see this as a Riot Squad story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was just playing a video here. I wanted to mute the volume because I think they're showing. Ruby tweeted 9 hours ago. I know it's not the same. So I guess this is after the whole women's battle royal with the interactions that Ruby and Liv had there. She said, "I know it's not the same, but slowly I'll make it up to you, Liv, till we're bulletproof." And it actually shows 2 halves of videos. One, the tables match she had with Natalia a few years ago, where Liv took a table for Ruby. And then I think the bottom video is supposed to be the battle royal where I guess Ruby protected Liv or something, or took the bullet for her, or something like that. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I guess she did kind of take the bullet in a way. And she's just saying, like, I guess for Ruby, she wants to prove herself to Liv. She wants to have Liv's back. Right. So I guess maybe even Ruby's trying to say, like, hey, guys, this is more about me because Liv didn't do anything wrong. I've got to do my part in this. And you could even see even now Liv's doing her part in this because, like you said, Liv did get the pin.
Yeah,
so,
she pinned Billy.
You know, I would appreciate it more if this is more about Ruby. Either way, though, I can't fully get behind that they just beat the Iconics so quickly because really, I would have had them have miscommunications. Like, even though they used to run together like so tight, people change. And like, I feel like that could have been even a nice little nod of like, well, that's how much they've changed, that they're even starting to have miscommunications in the ring trying to tag. Liv Morgan isn't the same Liv Morgan, and Ruby isn't the same Ruby, so they got to find that synergy again. And I would have really appreciated that journey. It just disappoints me that WWE didn't have nearly the same interest in the journey that I did.
Yeah.
So that's really all I want to say about that.
All right, I think that we've kind of talked about this as much as we can. So let's SmackDown, because the only other stuff that we can talk about on Raw is also relevant to SmackDown. So let's move on to SmackDown. And as far as SmackDown goes, let's just kind of start things off with Sheamus. What do you say we start with Sheamus? Because really, there's kind of a big interweaving storyline that involves Sheamus, and Sheamus is kind of done with Jeff Hardy now. Because ever since that bar fight, I feel like he's kind of through with Jeff Hardy. But the new storyline now, it's Sheamus, Matt Riddle, Corbin, and Gable, right?
Yeah. Let me just ask you something though, because I know you said that we wanted to talk about Bayley, Sasha, and Asuka like as main event of catch-up commentary, but I thought we were going to talk about Retribution after the Raw stuff. Or did you want to find a way to tie some of the SmackDown?
Oh, I thought we were talking about Retribution right before the Bayley Sasha.
Okay, so you were thinking semi-main. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear. All right, so with Sheamus, yeah, it's like Corbin and Gable and Matt Riddle and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't even know what to think about this.
What do you think of Shorty G turning heel, joining up with Corbin, and going after Riddle?
It just, you know, to me, it frustrates me because we can't just look at this in isolation. We have to look at this holistically as part of Chad Gable's whole career. They don't know what they want from that guy.
Our wires got crossed there in a major way because I thought you were going to go for something that I was going to say, and then you went in a completely different direction. So can I just say something real quick?
Of course.
I feel like there could... Actually, no, it's not could. Because to suggest could means that they're capable of doing it, and they're not. I feel like there would be potential for a genuinely great story here if the WWE's writers were capable of nuance, but they're not. So it won't be. But like, could you imagine if Gable had Stockholm Syndrome and we really got into the fucking details of that shit?
Like, elaborate. Go with this.
Like, it's an abusive relationship. Gable seeks Corbin's approval because he sees Corbin as like this alpha type, and Corbin is just constantly shitting on Gable, except for when Gable does something for Corbin. Then he praises him and he calls him Chad instead of calling him Shorty G. And it's like there's the praise, it's like the toxic cycle of like, I'll praise you when you do something that I want, but otherwise you're just a piece of shit and you're worthless. So it creates the feedback loop of Gable constantly wanting to just do Corbin's bidding, and Corbin basically has himself a fucking willing minion at that point. But really, Gable is just practically fucking brainwashed. It's literally just Stockholm Syndrome. He's literally just sympathizing with his abuser.
Yeah. That does actually sound like a really interesting story, but you're right. They don't have the nuance to pull that off.
No, yeah, that's the exact problem, though, is like this could be the WWE's version of Hell of War. You could literally tell a 9-month, or maybe not 9, but a 6-month story out of this, where it starts out as Gable being down in the dumps, and then Corbin steps up to him and he's just like, hey man, you want to prove your worth? Go take out Riddle. And he does. And Corbin praises him for it. And he's like, damn, that was really impressive, Chad. I didn't know that you were able to do stuff like that. Gable, you're really impressing me. I'm so impressed. And Gable just gets like this big smile on his face. He's just like, yeah, I have worth again. And it's all thanks to Corbin. Ignoring the fact that Corbin was the one that took his dignity away from him in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I love that dude. But what bothers me is, one, unfortunately, they're not doing that. And two, I guess to kind of narrow my point a little bit and to impart some coherence to it, like, they're clearly not listening to Chad Gable, and I don't think they care about him. They care about him in the sense that he's a body on their side and not with AEW, to me. Because Chad Gable doing this to Matt Riddle, you know what would have been cool to me, just to kind of give my own version of how I would have liked things to play out? Because I loved, and I haven't gotten over, that video that Chad put on his Twitter about how these ain't upsets when he beat Mojo Rawley. And then, that energy that he exuded is like, you know what? If Michael Cole is going to be such a blithering idiot that he is going to say that Mojo Rawley, me beating him, was an upset, what's Michael Cole going to have to say when I take out a guy that's on my level like Matt Riddle and has made a much bigger deal out of because he beat AJ Styles in his debut and he got an Intercontinental title shot? Meanwhile, I'm lucky if I get mic time. Yeah. Like, I would have loved if the energy from these ain't upsets would have been dovetailed into that, but it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with Corbin's bullshit of the bounty, which, again, you could have salvaged if you did everything you just said, but they're not. So we're both angry for both the same reasons and different reasons, because I'm like, here's Chad giving you stuff that you're not going to use in your completely different disregard because it's on social media and it's not canon, to put it in a way. And then also you're going to do this, but you're not even going to really acknowledge their past history. Then I feel like they're walking it back because I really was kind of tuning out last Friday, or I get not last Friday, but like this past Friday. Yesterday, really, I should say. Did he walk back the heel turn, or did he sucker Matt Riddle after the apology?
He suckered, yeah. It looked like he was walking back the heel turn, and I was genuinely excited. I was like, okay, WWE, you realize that you messed up. You're walking it back. I'm cool with this if it means that we're going to get like a friendly rivalry between Gable and Riddle. I'm like, yes, I'm cool with it. Or even if it would have been like a one-off match and then they shake hands and go after the tag titles, because the tag team champions right now are Cesaro and Nakamura, and who wouldn't want that match? Riddle and Gable versus those guys? Are you kidding me? Please give it to me on a platter. But no, Corbin attacked Riddle from behind then, and Gable just like gave him the look of like knowing solidarity.
Jesus Christ. Well, dude, here's the thing. Here's what sucks for both of us. Because I don't even hate your idea, but I have to groan about Gable being in another tag team. But, like, at least it would be with Matt Riddle. And at least
not
it would
Bobby
be
Roode.
Yeah, but knowing WWE, Gable is going to win the tag team titles again, but with Corbin. And I'm
dude,
just like, why?
No. No, see, no, because Corbin doesn't actually respect Gable. He's using him.
Yeah, but unless I don't know.
Dude, this is how much of a geek I could envision WWE making Gable out to be. I could legitimately see WWE having Gable continue to do Corbin's bidding for him, and then be like, hey man, we're a pretty good team. We should try and go after the SmackDown tag team titles. And Corbin just gives him that look like, please, Chad, you're not on my level. And just, like, beat the shit out of him. And then Gable just looks like a sad puppy at the end of all of it. And Corbin comes out on top. Gable looks pretty much the same as he did before the whole thing. Nothing is gained by anyone, and everything is just reset back to square zero.
See, now I'm actually watching the end of this segment here. And Gable does kind of give Corbin that look like, yeah, but then he also kind of does the surrender cobra and he looks down at Riddle, so he seems conflicted to me. So I don't know what they're going to do with Gable. But can we just address the elephant in the room?
Oh,
why
okay.
Why are we making Baron Corbin seem important? Like, why are we still doing this?
He is important because he isn't Baron Corbin anymore. He is King Corbin. He is the king. It's his SmackDown. He's the king of SmackDown. You need to get this through your head. That's important. He's important because he's the king, and he's the king because he's important. Come on.
Wait a minute. Hold the fuck up here. Hold on. King of the Ring. How long ago was this? God damn it. Okay, yeah. King of the Ring, September 16, 2019. So, like, okay, I will correct it and say King Corbin, but after September 16th, like next month, I'm going back to calling him Baron because he's been king for over a year, and that's how long it used to fucking last when it was an annual tournament. I'm done with this fucking shit.
You know what?
So,
you know what? Fuck. I saw. Well, did he? Wait, did he actually win the thing? I thought, didn't he actually win it at SummerSlam or like in September even? Actually.
Well, yeah, they say September 2nd. Like the King of the Ring tournament 2019 lasted from August 19th to September 16th. So I'm guessing that.
So he became king on September 16th. So we've got to go for at least another month.
Yeah. So I will correct myself. Gritted fucking teeth. But then after September 16th, whenever somebody says this, I'm gonna be like, his year's up. Fuck you. So yeah.
God. Can I also just point out that Chad Gable was in one of the most entertaining tag teams in WWE history with Jason Jordan as his tag partner? Imagine if they stuck him with fucking Riddle.
Yeah, I miss American Alpha. I miss when Gable felt important.
But that's the thing, though. Jason Jordan was decent. I'm not trying to shit on Jason Jordan. He was good, and he was sure, the American Alpha was a hell of a lot better than whatever the fuck Gable's tag team with Rude was. But, like, he was no Matt Riddle. Like, it's Matt Riddle.
Wow. Yeah, that's great points. That's great points all around.
Like Jason Jordan as a singles performer was like a 6 out of 10. As a tag performer, he could get up into like the 7.5, and maybe his hot tags got him up into like the 8 out of 10 category. But we've seen monstars, or not monstars. We've seen chosen pros. We've seen what Matt Riddle can do as a tag team wrestler. It's in the 9s. And even as a singles wrestler, he's probably in the 9s. You put him with a guy like Gable? Are you kidding me? We're talking about, like, year-plus title reign material.
Yeah. You're not even wrong. So, I don't know where they're going to go with this. I hate King Corbin. I hate that I have to keep calling him King Corbin. Everything is awful. Everything hurts. So, what came after this?
To be fair, I don't actually believe anything that I said about him, but that's always his explanation for why he does stuff. Anytime anyone ever asks him, like, what's your problem, man? He's always just like, my problem? I'm the king. What's your problem?
What came after this?
John's just like, please, just move on.
I just want to talk about something else, yeah. Okay. Sucks so bad.
Do you want to talk about Miz and Morrison doing their thing?
I hate that I don't care about John Morrison. Me. I don't care about John Morrison right now.
Oh, that's shocking even to me, and I've been with you the whole time.
What the fuck? Because, like, they've just been doing, like, Miz TV, and I know they had the singles matches with Big E, which, I mean, good for putting over Big E. Like, that's the right call. It's just, like, I'm over the tag team. I can't even believe, if that statement was shocking, here's the other shocking statement. I low-key kind of want Jomo to turn babyface. Because I feel like he'd be having more fun matches and maybe doing more as a babyface. Like, because at least as a babyface...
You want Jomo to turn babyface so that he can feud with King Corbin.
Well, you know what I was going to say? You know what his ceiling is as a babyface? Because I'm not deluded to think that they'd put him in the ring with, like,
IC
Fiend
title?
or whatever for the world title. Yeah, AJ Styles. Fucking Jomo AJ Styles for the IC title. Like,
okay, you win.
Yeah. I could be getting that, but instead I'm seeing him play Miz's second fiddle, which I always hate that it seems for, like, their whole careers, he was Miz's second fiddle the whole time. Fuck everybody that was like, oh, he's the next Shawn Michaels. No, you cursed it. You ruined it. And they're doing his Miz TV, which, not even to hate on Miz, he deserves better too. They jerked that man around so much they made him lose momentum. He was world title bound only 2 years ago. And they're like, nah. You know what I think it was?
Wait a minute. It wasn't even 2 full years ago, was it? Because wasn't it literally WrestleMania 35 that he lost to Shane?
That's true.
So, like, they killed his momentum barely over a year ago.
But, like, I guess whenever he was hot, we'll say. That's why I'm not committing to a year. You know what I really think it was at the end of the day, and this is just me so amused by my own bullshit, they didn't want to, like, invalidate the words of a McMahon. Because remember that Stephanie promo where she was like, your problem is that you peaked too early. So then when he proved them wrong and was like, hey, I have momentum again, it's like, yeah, but you don't want to make my daughter Stephanie a liar, do you? Bury him. And it's just like,
Oh, it's sad because it's true.
the idea that it's even 2% plausible tells you everything you need to know about this fucking company. Which, it makes all the sense now why Shane was the one to be in the feud with Miz, because it's like, Shane, you gotta protect the word of your sister. Take out the Miz. You got it, Dad. I'm gonna take out him and his potato-faced father. Yeah. So I feel bad for Miz too, but like, I don't really care about them being together anymore. They had their tag title run. See, because I wanted them to do it with the quickness. Because again, this is, to me, Morrison's final run. I've been saying that every time we talk about him at length. And it's like, shit, man. They did the tag title run, which was fun. But Jomo killed it in that triple threat ladder match at WrestleMania. All three of them did.
Yeah.
And it's like, they dropped the titles. Even if you wanted to do like a matchup where Jomo's like, hey man, it's not really fun anymore, and you keep Miz heel, I get that. Hell, I wouldn't even mind if you had Miz go over. I mean, as a fan, I'd hate it, but I get it. Business is business. Just have him do something. He even went into business for himself.
What were we just talking about? They went out of their way to kill his momentum.
Yeah, I mean, but the WWE doesn't know what it wants. Because Morrison even had to go into business for himself and be like, hashtag more Morrison. It's like, this poor man, it's just, even he knows. It's like, man, I wish Lucha Underground was still around. I miss being Johnny Mundo.
Right? I'm wondering if he's literally just like, oh my god, this is why I left in the first place. Why did I come back?
I guarantee you he comes home to Taya, and I think their dog is named Prince Presley or something. He just goes to his beautiful home. You know, he has a drink with her, and he's like, you know what, I miss Taya? And she just has this look like, here we go. He's like, Lucha Underground. Because we ran shit. I don't even know what I'm
Taya's just
doing.
like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm still running shit over here in Impact, baby. You could come back.
He's like, no, I'm too talented for that place. And she's like, baby, you're right.
She's just like, I've seen what the men's division looks like. It doesn't hold a candle to us knockouts.
Exactly. And I guarantee you, like, the way that they do that Wolverine meme where he has that torn out picture of Jean Grey, Johnny has the same thing in his locker room, but it's the Lucha Underground logo. Come back to me.
As if I didn't miss it enough already. Now you got me thinking about how much Johnny must miss it because of how well he was treated there.
He was like, I shouldn't say he was an ace because his best stuff came when he was a heel, and that's just like incoherent. But like, he was one of the people that really promoted the brand, and they really gave him a lot. If Prince Puma didn't leave, I feel like they would have run it as like a 2-person power trip, maybe even literally as a team at one point. Who knows with Lucha Underground? But no, let's just have him do milquetoast shit with the Miz. Now and again, they're even still kind of doing cool stuff. You know, when they were feuding with Braun, I like the music video they did, genuinely. But like, I don't know, man. I wanted to see Morrison back, to see him in matches with the current WWE locker room. That was so fucking
frustrating when the Miz broke up that pin. Fuck you, Miz.
Yeah, we could have. I could have had the dream of Morrison as well,
and it wouldn't have even been just the WWE title. That's the Universal Championship.
Champion of the same guy that has so many nicknames for himself. Champion of the universe, John Morrison. And you fucked it up, Miz.
I mean, it's true already, but can we just put it on paper, please?
God, see, I was going to start out this portion of, like, Ketchup Commentary so apathetic, but then I'm thinking about how much Jomo actually deserves, and I got there, everyone. Because I'm just like, this really fucking sucks. Like, it just, I don't know. I just don't care for it. But, what were we even going to talk about? What, Miz's match with Big E was first, right?
Well,
and then I know...
Really what actually happened was, I think you're going back a little bit too far, because last week we got Heavy Machinery versus both of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool, I guess.
It ended in a no contest, so it's not like there was an actual finish to it. But to be fair, that was also like one of the last things that we saw on the entire show.
Yeah. Nothing really to say. I feel like I already kind of talked about it in a way because I'm just kind of over them as names. Actually, like, I feel like the mileage has been exhausted.
You know how I said it was one of the last things that we saw? The only reason it wasn't the last thing on the entire show was because it got interrupted by a Retribution attack, which we will talk about later.
Hell yeah. So yeah, I mean, cool for Heavy Machinery. Otis is still Money in the Bank, which I have to remind myself of every now and again.
Dude, I'm telling you, SummerSlam's going to be when he at least tries to cash in. It's just a matter of whether he succeeds or not.
I don't think he will. If he does, I don't even know if I'd want them to or how I'd feel, because I feel like I feel like Otis is and this is why though I miss crowds because I'd like to know where Otis would be with the crowd. Would he still be over, or would they be tepid on him by now?
Yeah.
But I can't tell because of course they're going to cheer for Otis every time because they're all plants. I mean, elevated plants because they're actually roster members. But you get.
Oh my god, dude! You just reminded me of the fucking teacher from Fairly Odd Parents.
Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah, oh,
because they're all plants.
Mr. Crocker. Yeah, I guess I did kind of channel that a little bit. So yeah, it is everything, but these guys don't even matter because wasn't this a segue into the bigger feud that obviously matters? Sonya and Mandy.
Yeah, no, but I feel like they're all just a bunch of company shills. But yeah, it does lead into Sonya versus Mandy because that was what was Miz TV last week, and then Sonya and Mandy came out and they were beating each other up last week, and then this week, last week we also had Sonya, last week was when we got the debut of Mandy's shorter hair, and she went after Sonya because the week before that was when Sonya cut her hair. Right? And so last week we got the debut of the shorter hair. She attacked Sonya. This week we got promos from both of them. Mandy challenged Sonya to a hair versus hair match, and Sonya accepted and then said, "You're gonna look good bald," as if she's not gonna be the one to lose the thing.
Yeah, it's gonna happen to her. But like you said, she's gonna look.
The thing
really
is, she said it like a bully. Like she said it ironically, like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna look great bald," but like. Legitimately though, Sonya Deville is gonna look amazing with short hair. Like seriously, actually, she's gonna look awesome with it.
Yeah, she's gonna look anywhere between. I know you mentioned like the girl with the dragon tattoo, and I'm even kind of visualizing like Natalie Portman from V for Vendetta when she got the hair shaving scene, like somewhere. Yeah,
I was also another name that kind of crossed my mind was Ruby Rose, if you know who that is.
Ruby Rose. Why does that sound familiar? Anyway. Yeah, I do think it'll be a good shift.
I think she was in Orange is the New Black.
Oh, Orange is the New... Yeah, okay. I think that's ringing some bells, yeah. But yeah, I think, I at least credit this feud for having some meat to it with the hair versus hair stipulation.
She played Stella Carlin in Orange is the New Black. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I'm looking her up now. Yeah, I see why you'd say that.
But that's kind of another name like that. The girl with the dragon tattoo, which I think that was Rooney Mara that played the girl with the dragon tattoo, if I'm correct. But yeah, like that vibe. Like yeah, Sonya's gonna rock the shit out of it. She's gonna look amazing, and I love the way that we got here because, quite frankly, Mandy's little haircut that she got, the little trim job, looks great on her too.
Can I just say, and
plus, before you say that, we also got an amazing bit of internet content with Bailey going on video and saying like, "Hey, Mandy, you want to steal my haircut?" And then she zooms in on Otis working out and grabs his arm, like she's like flirting with him, and goes, "How about if I steal your man?"
Yeah, I didn't even see that video, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I guess my only nitpick for this, and I really would call it like the pickiest of nits here, she didn't even really make Mandy look ugly. Like, I like the idea of hair versus hair.
I guess in the moment she did because of like all the smeared lipstick and stuff, but it's not like there was anything permanent about that.
Well, yeah, like, again, I don't know, man. I say I don't like camp, but maybe I'm telling on myself because everything I come up with is campy as shit. Like, even just one scar that isn't even really a scar or whatever, like, you're really not going to do like anything with that. Again, I like that we got hair versus hair. That's why I even said, yeah.
Give her the Avatar: The Lost Airbender movie version of Zuko's scar, the one where like it's there kind of barely, but you can't really see it, and it doesn't make him actually ugly.
Exactly. Like, I don't know, man.
Because this is Hollywood, baby. We can't have real ugly.
I pretty much like everything that they did. I agree with 100%. Hair versus hair was the way to go, especially to make us care about something like this.
Yep.
But I feel like they didn't go far enough with like the ugly thing. Because like,
dude, I even told you like as soon as Sonya started clipping Mandy's hair a couple weeks ago, I immediately was like, oh wow, Sonya's gonna look amazing with short hair.
Yeah.
I immediately was like, okay, we're gonna do a hair match, and Sonya's losing. They're doing this because she wants to shave her head already, and they just want to make money off of it.
Yeah, and like, I think that's just what frustrates me a little bit, because again, they did everything right, and again, I even noted it's the pickiest of nits, but I didn't even hate Mandy's promo, like, this past Friday. Like, I actually thought it was good, all things considered. Yeah. But it's like, What a struggle for Mandy. She's been made ugly by, checks notes, having shorter hair. Holy shit.
See, I don't think that the point was Mandy has to struggle. We have to make Mandy ugly. I think the point was Sonya's a jealous bitch, and we need to get revenge on her.
And that's fair. That's fair. I don't know. You say you're going to do something, do it. It kind of reminds me.
Yeah,
no, not nearly as
to
bad.
me, the story isn't, oh, we need to, Mandy is, trying to skate by on her looks. I think that everything that Sonya was saying, if you take it as the truth, that might be how you interpret it as. But if you realize that she's just a jealous bitch heel, and that Mandy is the baby face, and that the actual story here is that we want to see Sonya get a comeuppance, and that Mandy needs to get some revenge because Sonya has been trying to tear her down for the last few months and tried to sabotage a potential relationship between Mandy and Otis. I think that kind of puts it into a better perspective.
Completely unrelated to wrestling. I just need to say this because this is another installment of what the fuck even is 2020. Apparently a fire tornado happened in California. You heard that right, everyone. A tornado that also, I guess, was on fire? Like...
Charizard used Fire Spin!
Yeah. Oh, God. So, apparently somebody explained it as, tornado warning has been issued for a likely fire tornado. These are not fire whirls. This is a rotating smoke plume being ingested into a pyrocumulonimbus cloud that could produce a bona fide fire-induced tornado. Tornadic wind speeds. Wow, climate change is on some next level shit. Holy fuck.
Oh my god. Dude, I can't even tell you how many times Craig, who lives in California, by the way, has said in the Discord, oh, we're expecting 103-degree weather next week. Or, oh, I think the most recent one, it was actually 106 degrees, like a day or two ago. I was just like, how do you survive?
Dude, I'm sorry, because this isn't funny at all, and I'm hoping the people of California are okay, but I just can't help but think, like, day after tomorrow, we've perfectly depicted the true nightmares of climate change, fire, tornado, hold my flames, and it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Hold my cinders.
Yeah, like, dude.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, because, like, day after tomorrow, wait. Yeah, okay, yeah, that was the John Cusack movie, right? About, like, the 2012 end of the world thing?
Was it?
No, was it? Was it not? Or was that literally just called 2012?
That was probably just called 2012. Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow is from... Oh, wow, that's older. That's from 2004. I don't saw Day After Tomorrow. Wait, Day After Tomorrow, was that, like, an Ice Age thing?
Yeah, it was all ice-based, and it was like this big flood that hit New York, and like, Fire Tornado was literally like, pay attention to me. Holy shit. I saw the term Fire Tornado, and I'm like, oh wow, people are getting clever with this climate change shitposting, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's not shitposting. Oh dear.
That's reporting. Oh no.
So... It's funny because with some of the stuff on the WWE product, you could describe that as a fire tornado.
Oh my god, that's gonna be our new... Dude, fuck a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster, or it's a fire tornado.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Oh my god. So, climate change is literally screaming at people to pay attention to it, and so I guess that's it. As far as this angle goes, yeah, I think Sonya will lose and get the hair shaved, and I would just hope that sooner or later she can move on to better stuff. But yeah, this has been, I guess, a fine program for the two of them. A bit cringe at times, but I think the end game is definitely suitable. So.
Oh my god. I like how we went from me explaining that Mandy is the face, Sonya is just a jealous bitch, to fire tornado.
I didn't mean to derail the commentary. It's just I saw it and I'm like, nobody's gonna believe me if I tell them, but I have to try. It's just so bad. Oh god. So what came out? What are we talking about next? I shouldn't even say what came after this. What are we just talking about next?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. Is that a serious question right now? You bring up fire tornado and you expect me to just move on like it's nothing?
I mean, what are we gonna do? Turn into a climate podcast? I'm not a meteorologist.
Dude, you might not be a meteorologist, but we might have to start worrying about actual meteors at this fucking rate.
Dude, no lie. No lies detected.
Stop it!
Is it its final form? I don't even...
No, its final form is Fire Blast.
Oh, God.
Or what's the next step up from that? There was like the ultimate move from like the Fire Red and Leaf Green games.
Yo, nature... No, I
Dude,
stop.
Imagine if I would look up Fire type starter ultimate move Fire Red Leaf Green and it just said Fire Tornado.
Dude, since you said that, fuck it. I'm already going. My place in hell was already set like years ago. Nature keeps this shit up. I really am gonna believe that the Avatar is real because you can't fucking do this shit to me. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, it's called Blast Burn. That's the ultimate fire starter move from Gen 3.
Okay.
Not Fire Tornado. Oh, see, this is where they're starting to get clever with it. They're going all portmanteau with it. I'm seeing it called a Fire NATO now.
Oh wow.
I mean, we've seen Sharknadoes, but now we get a Fire NATO.
Holy fuck! What even is 2020? So again, I reiterate.
Dude, I'm sorry. You've done it. You've derailed the podcast. It's off the rails. There are no rails left. We just need to try and get it back on course as best we can without the rails. But until then, can I just address the fact that news outlets are unironically reporting this with a perfectly straight face, like everything's fine. Rare fire NATO spotted in California as heat wave scorches state. The big concern is that it's extremely erratic fire behavior, said a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. It's like, well, you know, the big concern, dude, the big concern is the whirling pile of death coming towards me.
This is why I've always low-key wanted you behind a news desk. No, Garrett! No. You don't report this with a straight face, you mark! That's whirling death coming towards us!
Stop, you're gonna kill me because I'm just imagining tomorrow morning we open up talking about, well, there's been a fire NATO spotted in downtown Los Angeles, and there have been another 12 killings today, and I would just freak out. I would be like, way to bury the lead, Karen!
Yeah. God,
Did you say fire NATO? Why don't we call it what it is? Spinning death.
I'm just waiting for them to say with the same stoicism, and today we've seen a breed of sharks walking on land, and now they're terrorizing people in both the land and sea. And so, Kevin, what's the weekend forecast looking like for you over there? It's like...
I would just be all stoic, and I would just be like, you know... I think pack it in and call it a life.
Dude, and you know what? Like, I hope this teaches people, since again, you already said I already derailed the podcast. Fuck it. I've been having more fun with this catch-up commentary than the last few installments anyway. Like, I hope that this makes people, the way Jackie always says, like, I'm going to make Abel learn what I'll never understand. But, like, I hope reality has made people learn. Stop having optimism when ringing in the new year. Because, like, I feel like they did it for 2020.
Every year. Like, dude, if you thought 2020 was bad, like, 2021 might not be worse. Because, you know, we might not get a full-blown pandemic that takes the entire year for our country to overcome because fuck Donald Trump and his administration. But if you thought this year was bad in terms of just the summer being stupid hot, don't expect that to get any better, because that's not getting better. That's going to get worse for the rest of our lives. Enjoy these days while you have them, because next year and the year after that and every single year for the rest of your life, it is going to do nothing but keep getting worse, because the U.S. and China both ain't doing shit about the problem.
I just loved your tone for that whole thing. It's like you were literally side-eyeing life, and you're just like, that's not getting better. I don't know what you think you're doing, but that's only going to get worse.
Yeah. It's like fucking, oh my god, what was the name of that? Akira. It's like fucking Akira, when it's like he first starts like absorbing things, and if you would have been in the room and you first saw that, if you were smart, you hightailed it the fuck out of there, because you knew that shit was gonna snowball. That is not gonna, holy shit, I just said snowball, and we're talking about global warming. What the fuck, Jesus Christ.
God,
It's not getting better, though. It's not getting better.
I feel like everyone should have had their own Ashton for every cataclysmic event in history. Like the first case of bubonic plague, well, that's not going to get better. And just always.
See, no, but in those cases, I wouldn't be good for humanity, because I would be just give up, just stop trying.
Yeah.
But the reason we got that stuff is because we tried.
Oh my god. So yeah, I can't believe what I witnessed and what I brought back here. And this is the second time that I've done this, because the first time that I did this in Derail the Podcast was unfortunately the Hana incident. I need to stop reporting things when we're live. I'm just so captivated by life.
Here's an idea. Make yourself a little notepad document. The thoughts that you have that would potentially otherwise derail the podcast, just put it in there, and we'll talk about them afterwards, bud.
That's fair, but you can't deny, though, Fire Tornado is pretty awe-inspiring in the most horrifying way.
Fire Tornado is okay. It's the Fire NATO that I'm really here for.
There you go. So, what was fire on SmackDown? Because I guess we're getting to better stuff now at this point, right?
What was fire on SmackDown really was the stuff that we'll be talking about last. But before we get to that, we can still talk about stuff like the tag division, which we already talked about on Raw being an absolute fire tornado. But now on SmackDown, it's a little better. It's not as bad. It's actually pretty entertaining, because last week we had Lince Dorado versus Cesaro, right? And then this week we had, I think they actually had like a proper tag team match. Let me look to make sure. Trying to find it. No, actually, we had Grand Metalik versus Shinsuke Nakamura. So that was pretty cool. And, excuse me, we also had the return of Kalisto this week.
Ah, very nice, very nice.
So we had Cesaro beat Dorado last week in 4 minutes and 27 seconds, and then we had Metalik beat Nakamura this week in 4 minutes even. And it's Grand Metalik, and he probably beat Nakamura in an upset at some point in his. Oh no, he didn't, because he was a junior, so never mind. But I guess it's acceptable. But I just really wish I could have been forewarned that Grand Metalik was credible now for whatever reason, because this before. Like a month ago, he had no credibility whatsoever. And then he randomly won a shot at AJ's Intercontinental title, and then he took him to the limit, and now he beat Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, they're really building Metalik up, which I'm not even saying is a bad thing. It just seems kind of out of
the
nowhere.
bad thing about it is that you say they're building him up, which in my mind at least, now I could, this could just be me running something out to a place that you never intended it to go. But when you say someone's getting built up, it tells me that they're being built up for something, and I don't think Metalik is being built up for anything. I think that they're just trying to give him credibility for, I don't know, the lulz.
And that's fair. Maybe it'd be better if I phrased it as they're presenting him a bit differently, because I don't remember him being this competitive with people.
No, yeah, so exactly. Because it's not like they're doing it with the whole Lucha House Party. I almost wonder if they're doing that so that they can be like, oh, Dorado is the Jannetty of the Lucha House Party. Kalisto was always really good. He's a former multiple-time U.S. champion. He's beaten Alberto Del Rio a few times even. So now that we've got Grand Metalik showing that he's a real deal, if you put Metalik and Kalisto together, that's an actual formidable opponent for Cesaro and Nakamura.
Yeah. You know what? Like you said, the SmackDown Tag Division isn't as bad as Raw. I could almost vibe with this feud. I mean, it's different. I mean, Cesaro and Nakamura, I actually like their chemistry. And I mean that more promo-wise. I feel like they actually get along pretty well together, and they're presented pretty well on TV. One guy being Swiss and Nakamura obviously being Japanese. I don't think Japanese was one of Cesaro's listed languages, though, of all the languages he could speak, which that's kind of a shame.
I think he mostly speaks European languages. Like, I think he can speak like German, Russian, French, maybe, obviously English, maybe Spanish too. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. It's a shame though, because I would love for those two to like speak Japanese to each other. But
here it is: English, German, Italian was one of them, French, and whatever the fuck this word is, Swiss German.
Okay.
Which makes sense because he's Swiss.
But yeah, I like the idea of the team and them feuding with Lucha House Party. Look, it's not like Lucha House Party's been doing anything else. You might as well do with them what they're billed as. They're a tag team. Might as well go after the tag team titles. So I'm here for this, especially because, given the people involved, it should be a good in-ring product. If they're going to do this, say, on SummerSlam kickoff, it should be solid. So yeah, I've got no qualms with this. So what are we talking about next?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we ready to move on?
Absolutely.
Let's see. Next up, let us talk about the fact... Oh, jeez. Let's talk about the fact that Jeff Hardy is in the Intercontinental Championship picture for literally no reason.
Why?
He fucking lost to Sheamus in that bar fight, didn't he?
No,
he did win that. That's right. He won because he went Super Saiyan. I forgot about that. Fuck.
I hate it. He's like, there would have been a time where this matchup would have been so good. I feel like
a decade ago.
Yeah, a decade ago. Poor AJ is gonna be like, well, I gotta turn back the hands of time.
Yeah. I mean, hell, even Sheamus Hardy would have been interesting a decade ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why they're doing this with Jeff. I don't even know why Jeff's still working. Like, dude, it just angers me because, again, not to take cheap shots or whatever, but they know about Jeff's problems. He moves a lot slower than he used to. Make the connection. The wrestling business is doing this to you. Step away. Be with your family. You put in your time, and we're grateful for it because he gave us a lot of amazing moments at a hell of a high cost, hell of a high premium. It's just not the same. I would have preferred a Chad Gable. I don't like what they're doing with him now. I'm kind of mad on it. I would have preferred a Gable AJ feud. Who else could AJ feud with? Big E. Big E was a big one that I said for SummerSlam.
Did you already mention Matt Riddle?
I didn't mention Matt Riddle, but I thought that was done with because Matt Riddle already got his Intercontinental title match.
Yeah, but like he had one shot at it, and he beat AJ previously. So why didn't he? Why not a rubber match?
Yeah. I mean, hell, you could have done 2 out of 3 falls between those two at SummerSlam. I would have done that shit.
That's kind of like I guess I'm thinking of it more as like let's actually just let AJ Styles have amazing matches with people that AJ Styles can have good matches with, which is like, I don't know, 98% of the roster if we exclude the geriatrics. Oh, but wait, Jeff Hardy's one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm disappointed because AJ, I think the Intercontinental title is a perfect fit for AJ. He's done really well with it. He's done really well with everything he's been given in the company. It's just incredible that he's just been that guy in every company he's gone in. But Jeff, that just does nothing for me. Because here's the thing, too. If Jeff was at least a good promo, you could get by on it, but he's not. He's not. Like, I feel like whatever good quality he had on the mic, I think it was always, especially when he was at his peak in popularity, it was that he always seemed at the very least sincere. And I'm not saying he's lost that sincerity. I'm just saying that that's not enough anymore. Like, you're so old. Like, I would want you to at least be charismatic, be entertaining, maybe get some good burns on AJ. But if you can't even do that, why are you here? Because you can't do the in-ring stuff. The mic stuff is inadequate.
I mean, dude, here's the thing, though. It's AJ Styles, and, like, even just this past Friday, AJ Styles found a way to basically carry Jeff Hardy even on the mic. So I guess WWE's just like, hey, we really, really like Jeff Hardy, and like we know he's not very good at anything right now, but like AJ's our champion and he can carry anyone. So we want to just put him against the guy that we really, really like, and that's all we need.
Yeah, exactly. Poor AJ, man. Well, I shouldn't say poor AJ given some things that we know, but like, I don't know. You're really good at what you do. I just hope he's getting paid well for it to have to do these fucking carry jobs.
Yeah. And again, when I say he carried him on the mic, AJ had a whole segment on the mic before Jeff Hardy came out talking about analytics and stats and data because Joseph Park is now part of the AJ Styles presentation. I loved it. I loved his facial expressions. I think he's a great performer. I always enjoyed his work as Abyss. I always thought he was great. I always enjoyed the Monsters Ball matches. His match with, I believe, Jeff Hardy is one of my favorite TNA matches of all time, actually. So, like, I'm a big fan of Joseph Park on the low key. And hey, guess what? He's with AJ Styles, who's also, like, one of the best performers of all time. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the talking segment until Jeff got involved.
Yeah. Funny how that happens, right?
And AJ too. The thing is, like, we're talking like this is already set in stone, but I don't think it is, because AJ like told him no. Like, he basically said hell to the no. I'm not defending my title against you. You don't deserve it, and walked away. And then later on, he keeps showing this fucking chart, and it's like, it's like a chart of like who is on his level, and it's literally no one. It's literally just him on the list. And Jeff Hardy wrote his name on it. So I think that's kind of the implication of like, yeah, we're getting the match. I don't think it's been made official yet, though, has it?
It hasn't been made official, but they're going there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, wait, actually, no, you know what? I take that back. I just found out earlier today, and it slipped my mind. The match is happening on SmackDown this coming week.
Oh, wow. Okay. And yeah, that's right. So I need a refresher. What happened in that match? Did Jeff win, I'm guessing, or did AJ put him down?
I said this coming week.
Oh, this coming week. Okay. Well, let's just hope that AJ puts him down and that he frees up his SummerSlam. But you know what,
God.
though?
I mean, let's be real. Would anyone complain if he did, and then like a really good contender stepped up and was like, my turn, and AJ had no choice but to be like, fine, whatever, and we got a really good match at SummerSlam?
That would be wonderful. But what I'm fearing will happen is they'll do the match this week, and either AJ will get himself disqualified or whatever, or will get thrown out for some reason, and we do it again at SummerSlam. So,
or I would say Retribution shows up and ruins it.
Yeah, fucking Retribution. Which again, I am low key enjoying, but like if they do that, like, goddamn, is getting Jeff Hardy a rematch at a Big Four pay-per-view really helping the product, Retribution? Come on now.
See, they don't care about helping the product. They're anarchists, John. All they care about is causing chaos.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about next?
Braun, Alexa, and the Fiend.
I hate having to eat my own words. I really do. I know it's kind of a running joke, but I really didn't want to do it this time. And let me explain.
No! I thought we were going to have fun making fun of this. I didn't think this was going to be a sad segment. What?
Well, no, because it's like, I liked the initial involvement with Alexa of like Fiend putting the mandible claw on her.
Oh.
But now I'm starting to feel a bit tentative about this. I'm not saying I hate it.
Okay.
I'm just a bit weary of it. I'm weary of it because I feel like she's getting overly
hate
involved.
Hate is a strong word.
Beg pardon?
I just said hate is a strong word.
Yeah, I mean, hate would be hyperbolic. But I'm weary of it because I feel like she's getting overly involved now, and I don't...
that sound, what the hell?
It's my face.
You sounded like a really young child doing a bad impression of a motorcycle.
Thank you.
Yang, yang, yang.
So, yeah, Fiend puts the mandible claw on Alexa. Good shit. I actually popped. That was the most Fiend thing that I feel like we've seen in a while.
You know what, though? Even that was creepier, like, in the wrong way than it should have been. Because, like, he didn't just put the mandible claw on Alexa. He made it sexual. He presented his fingers to her face in a way that you would expect in, like, a sexual way for him to shove into another hole, and inserted his fingers into her mouth. It was creepy in all the wrong ways.
To be fair, well, I shouldn't say to be fair, because I can see why you'd say that. I didn't even make that connection personally. I almost thought that he was like, I'm gonna let her like anticipate it because the fear makes it so much better. Almost like the It clown, where it's like before he eats the kids, he's got to terrify them out of their fucking minds because that just enhances the flavor, So I almost looked at it as like he wanted to draw it out because the terror just makes it all the better. But I think you are right. I would say that it's charitable to like extract a sexual interpretation of that, especially given
like,
that WWE.
No, here's my thing though, dude. And I'm trying to just articulate what I found wrong with it that doesn't necessarily clash with your idea of him trying to make it scary. there are ways that he could have made it scary and build the anticipation and really soak in that fear from Alexa that didn't involve looking like he was about to finger her face vagina, okay?
Yeah.
Like, he could have just, like, stood there and stared at her and watched as she started squirming, wondering what the fuck he was going to do. He could have done the spider walk. We haven't seen that in a while. He could have just crawled around her, stalking her, making her wonder, is he going to do something to me? Or is he just, like, eyeing me up, trying to figure out what he wants to do with me, or if he wants to do anything to me? Really just, like, make her kind of get stuck in her own head, and then when he springs the mandible claw on her, it comes out of nowhere, and it's terrifying, and she's scared shitless, and it, that could have worked too. He didn't need to, like, hover his fingers around her mouth like you would expect a horny bachelor at a stripper party to do.
Yeah, that's fair. That's everything you just said was fair. I liked it initially because I'm like, wow, this is the Fiend that I really love to see that doesn't give a fuck about who he destroys or terrorizes or whatever. Let me ask you this because I want your opinions on this. What do you think about Braun's metamorphosis? Was it a weird way that I phrased that? Or?
No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm literally just laughing at whatever the fuck they're doing with Braun. What in the hell are they doing with Braun Strowman? Like, what?
He's bald now.
It's not just... I mean, first of all, he looks hilarious bald. But, I mean, to be fair, I thought his best look was when he had the full head of long hair when he basically first debuted with the Wyatt family. I thought it looked goofy when he shaved the sides of his head in the first place. Now he just took it all off, and it looks even sillier to me. But, like, is it like the Lake of Reincarnation type thing that made his character change this much? Because that's like the only logical explanation I can think of. Because there was a point in time that there was a clear and obvious emotional connection between him and Alexa. And now, like, I can't figure out if he is intentionally trying to disconnect from her to protect her from the Fiend, or if he feels like the Fiend corrupted her and is trying to disconnect from her for that reason, because he feels like if he quote unquote lets her in, she'll just destroy him from the inside because, again, she's been corrupted by the Fiend. Like, this is one of those stories that the WWE is, again, if they were capable of writing nuance, I would probably be really into, but they're not. So I feel like they probably don't even know what the fuck they're doing. Knowing the fact that, like, I have no clue what they're doing, but also they probably don't either.
Yeah, dude. I'm hoping you and I are on the same page on this because I feel like I'm having an appropriate read about how you feel when you're just asking, like, what the fuck are they doing with Braun Strowman? Am I the only one that has to stifle giggles when he tries to be all menacing and shit?
Dude, like, that's the weird, like, the new voice that he's been, because, like, he went from, like, Hercule, basically, where he's like, I'm gonna kill you, Fiend, to now, he's like, it sounds like he's possessed. He's like, he sounds like he's trying to do like a demon voice, because it's no longer like, I'm gonna kill you, Fiend. It's more just like, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying way too hard to sound scary when he's supposed to be the baby face. What?
Yeah. Unless, I mean, dude, there are people theorizing that a double turn is happening here.
Yeah.
And well, Fiend's become...
I mean, when the Fiend loses and then loses his shit and beats the hell out of Braun so that Otis can cash in on Braun, maybe that'll be like Otis beating a heel, I guess, kind of. But I don't know, man. I don't really know how to feel about this whole thing.
See, I think I'm conflicted. I'm gonna try and be serious here for a second.
Why would you do that? This feud is so silly.
But like, as somebody that was once a hardcore Fiend fan, and I've cooled off considerably against that since then. I'm not saying I hate the Fiend, but like, I just remember those Raws where he closed the show, and I was like all fucking about it. And it's like we're not at that same level anymore. I don't think. I remember when I did a thread on the Fiend, and it was one of the threads that I was proud of, even though I think it was complete like horseshit in the sense like this is never going to happen, but I still like that I put that interpretation out there. and I wish I could find it, but it's like in the fucking archives, and I'm not going to eat up that time. But it was essentially about Bray overcoming like trauma and stuff because they've been hinted at that he was institutionalized and maybe he suffered abuse and he created the Fiend to protect himself from the abuse the same way that people dissociate. And like the Fiend is kind of the dissociation of Bray Wyatt. And like when he turns face and he uses the heel glove, that's because he himself has found healing and now he wants to promote that to others. And I thought you could have told an amazing story of this man being babyface. And like, no, instead he's gonna maybe, if the people are correct about a double turn, which I wouldn't laugh at it, that might actually be what they're doing. It's because of Alexa Bliss. And I'm not trying to hate. I'm really, really trying not to hate.
Alexa Bliss, the most powerful narrative tool in history of WWE.
Like, but see, you know what the problem is, though, dude? And like, I'm not going to say for you. I'm not going to put this on you. This is entirely on me. I guess in my own way, subconsciously haven't gotten over that we don't have Lucha Underground anymore. Because the way that I think and the way I want stories to be told, I got from Lucha Underground. With like these complex narratives, because I feel like if they had the Fiend, we would have seen like Bray formerly institutionalized and maybe even maltreated by doctors, and we could have actually gotten into that commentary about the dehumanizing effect of institutionalization and all this stuff. At least that's the credit I'm giving to Roach and to Joseph with the effort and the things they do commentaries on, because I loved Hell of War so much. WWE, nah. The one thing that defines heroes and villains, a woman. Get her in there. And it's like, no, what's happening? Like, to me, I almost feel like this is, now this is me being hyperbolic. Let me just get ahead of myself here. But I almost feel like this is more of a regression of women's evolution than the fucking dancers on Raw Underground. Because it's like, we're still using a woman as like a symbol to be fought over. Like, oh, I'm going to terrorize Alexa, but I'm going to protect Alexa. And it's almost like removing her agency. And
she has absolutely zero agency in this. Like, even on this past episode of SmackDown, when she was trying to, quote-unquote, snap Braun out of it, her slaps did literally nothing. And he said, I haven't been changed by the Fiend. You have. Everyone that comes in contact with the Fiend gets changed. And it was, well, of course, and he did it in his stupid new fucking growly voice for no reason. But, like, yeah, man, she doesn't have agency. It's that simple. You're correct.
Yeah, and I just, like, I don't vibe with that at all. And, like, Braun, you recapping that promo thing, you literally just contradicted yourself. The Fiend hasn't changed me, you've changed. Everybody that comes in contact with the Fiend has changed, but you've been in contact with the Fiend twice. Or at the very least, like, once with this woman.
In his mind, though, he's stronger than the Fiend, so he was able to overcome that factor.
Well, of course, you know,
but Alexa is just this tiny little girl. She's not strong enough to overcome the big bad Braun is.
Bro, I can't even say that you're wrong, because we know how Braun feels about people that aren't him on Twitter. Yeah. So, like, you're right.
Jeez, Alexa, I don't know. Maybe you should have just been born a foot and a half taller and get stronger, and then maybe then you'd be able to overcome the power of the Fiend. But right now, all I see is a tiny little girl who's been influenced by the big bad scary man.
You ever notice the people that get changed by the Fiend are also on food stamps? I'm just saying.
Oh, no. Let's not get into it, please.
Hey, Braun said it, not me. So, yeah, given how he feels about people that aren't him on, like, any level on Twitter, yeah, you're probably right in that interpretation. All these people getting changed by the Fiend, thank God I'm stronger than they are. The one Christian God, that is.
All these people getting changed by the Fiend. What a bunch of marks.
So, yeah, like, and you know what's a shame too, dude, is that if you remember, I was actually really excited about them feuding when it started, because, like, I loved their interaction on the One Raw when Fiend was feuding with Seth, and I'm like, there's a great story here, and they even kind of told the story sort of in the way that I would have, but not quite, because I but I understand why they told it, different from the order I did, because I would have done Colt Bray first, then Mr. Rogers Bray, then Fiend. I understand, though, you had to resurrect Colt Bray because we haven't seen him in forever. So I'll even give WWE a mulligan on that one. But
you're so generous.
But yeah, thank you. I had to, Abel. I'm a horrible person. So yeah.
I'm sorry. I just can't excuse that. You pointing out somebody else being a horrible person does not make you a horrible person.
That's fair. That's fair. But it just really sucks that he believes that, though. So I guess I'm still vibing with the feud. I just don't. You know what I think my worry is with it, dude, is like I don't want them to overly depend on Alexa when like this never really should have been about her. Like I'll even give them credit that I thought the way they used her in the Swamp match was kind of clever, but that should have really been the end of it to me. I don't know, man. But if she's a device to use a double turn, it still doesn't excuse that she has no agency. If it is a double turn, that's not exactly how I would have turned Fiend face. I would have had it be a far more emotional thing.
Can you imagine how much better this storyline would be if the WWE had, I don't know, a woman in the writer's room or something?
Don't be absurd. I say totally sarcastically because, yeah, they fucking should. I don't know, man. I just feel like, again, this story could have been a lot better. Fiend's face turn, if that is what's happening here, could have been a lot better. But again, where it is a John problem is I'm projecting Lucha Underground onto WWE. Yeah. And I need to just accept that they are not Lucha Underground. I wish they were, but we've got Raw Underground, which Abel made that joke earlier.
I mean, why would you want the actual good writing, roster rotation, and just generally better everything about Lucha Underground when you could just have the name, man?
God, we've already been going for like close to 3 hours. If I was even more on my bullshit, there are so many parallels between the wrestling we have to accept and the politics we have to accept, but this is not the time. Because, you see it though too, right? It's like, it's everywhere. Everywhere we're told, except don't ask things for yourself or other people. How dare you?
Do you want to know why AEW is so much better than WWE? Because they're not WWE. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. I feel like Harry Potter liberals that like bring everything back to the real world with that. We could bring everything in the real world back to wrestling. These Fire NATOs. Oh, you mean like the Fire NATO of insert storyline here? Checkmate reality. So yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like this feud.
The only Fire NATO storyline going on right now is Dominic Mysterio being pushed.
Oh shit. Oh God. So yeah, that's where I am with the story. I don't know.
I mean, since you're basically saying that we're done with this, we might as well go there. The only real Fire NATO, according to WWE, is the only faction that is only about anarchy, which is also the same thing as just creating chaos, and that's Retribution.
Oh, okay. No, you know what? I'm always better when you at least outline it, because I'm horrible at that shit. So outline what Retribution did, and then I'll just talk about how much I low-key kind of live for it.
Well, in the first week, I think the first week was like last Monday, like not this past Monday, but the Monday before that on Raw. I think that was actually the first week that we got Retribution. And that was when they threw the Molotov cocktail at the production equipment. And it was like, oh, we captured this footage earlier on tonight when you saw the powers flickering, the lights flickering. And it was, Molotov cocktails being thrown at production equipment. And earlier on in that night, they had, like, tipped over some luggage bins, too, which, like, oh my God, how fucking malicious can one group be to tip over luggage boxes? Like, I understand capitalism now. I get it.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. I'm living for it because, like, they're trying to sell this threat when really they're just doing, like mischief night shit. Like, just like, really petty vandalism. Like, I'm gonna TP your house.
You're talking like Halloween, yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna TP your house. Don't you know there's nothing more sacred than property? How dare you get this fucking 2-ply shit off of my lawn?
Get your commie ass 2-ply off of my willow.
I promise you I'm alive. You just took me out. Commie ass 2-ply. TWitWoW, we've been around long enough that we're going to use every combination of words in the English language.
I was just going to say that might be the first time anyone's ever said that combination of words in that order.
Yeah. God damn it. But, like, can we just... Fuck. Can Can we just talk about already the standout and the star of Retribution, the guy that brought out a fucking chainsaw at the end?
Dude, they were so proud of themselves for helping the ring crew.
Why do I feel like Retribution is just like a personified form of my mood? Like when I turn up.
It's perfect.
Like,
not only do you imagine you being the Billy Badass to be like, you know, I really want to fuck some shit tonight, and your idea of fucking shit up is just tipping over luggage boxes.
And then you bring out a chainsaw and you're proud of yourself because you're handling the chainsaw without losing any fingers. Like, it's amazing.
And then you use the chainsaw to make the ring crew's jobs easier.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I live for it. You know what else I live for? Because we touched on this in, like, games of Rocket League and stuff. I live for it that this is what a senile, old, crusty Vince McMahon thinks Antifa is. Like, as an actual leftist who is a card-carrying member of Antifa, because of course we're an actual concrete organization, it's not an actual conceptual thing. It's totally real.
Yeah, I mean, I would also like to think that I'm a card-carrying member of an actual real organization, and not just somebody who's vaguely against the concept of fascism.
Dude, that's why I love fucking right-wing pages trying to pose as Antifa. Join Antifa.com. Yeah, okay, cop. All right, yeah, way to tell on yourself.
Oh my, dude, join Antifa.com. Somebody owns that domain, and you're probably right, it's probably a cop.
Fucking cops.
It's probably, you know what, though? It's probably worse than that. It's probably like the FBI or some stupid shit.
And this is probably Vince thinking that he's like sending a genius message to the medium of wrestling about the real world. How can you trust in people that only want to destroy? But like, shut the fuck up. You're rich and old, and like, I don't want to hear from your opinions right now. But like,
it's like Vince is on his fucking pedestal. How can you trust people that only ever want to destroy? And we're just sitting down here looking up at him on his pulpit, being like, Vince, you might want to shut up. You're looking real tasty right now.
Okay, I've clearly just gone off the rails completely because commie ass 2-ply has just completely taken me out of the realm of serious content. But like,
I'm so glad I said it that way.
I want somebody on YouTube to do like an intercut, like splice Vince's promo on the NWO, a lethal dose of poison, and then they do the fade in effect. You know how they have the videos where like you can have like two videos playing at once and they're kind of like faded into each other, and it's just the guy holding up the chainsaw. A lethal dose of poison.
That was actually last Friday too. It's interesting. I feel like I almost said Antifa. I feel like Retribution is more like active on SmackDown. Like they're more likely to actually go to the ring and do stuff on SmackDown. Whereas with Raw, they're much more likely to just fuck shit up backstage.
And God, Chiefin didn't make it any better. And he's like, don't forget about what they did Friday and locked someone in the toilet when that person was taking a shit.
That was yesterday. That was yesterday.
I'm telling you, dude, like, I love that this is, like, grade school shit, and this is what Vince thinks the end-all, be-all of Antifa is. They lock people in bathrooms, and they tote chainsaws. And, like, somebody even noted, I think, like, a leftist that I follow, like, on my other Twitter, actually noted that, like, I wish Antifa was as cool as conservatives make them out to be. And I'm just like, Vince, I wish we were openly toting chainsaws in the streets. Maybe we'd actually get some of our demands fucking met. But, like, yeah, it's what drugs are you on, Vince? Like, I really have to wonder.
Dude, it's so disappointing, too, because that first night when they tipped over those luggage boxes and they threw that Molotov cocktail at the side, and then like that same week, which is last week, they stormed ringside. We got a woman, I think it was Jessica Mia, in the crowd getting her ass beat by a woman in Retribution, and I was like, okay, this is cool. But as soon as that fucking chainsaw showed up, I was like, oh my god, they're a cartoon. What? Caricatures.
You know, though, it's one of the best cartoons I've seen in a while. If they keep it up, they could be Avatar: The Last Airbender potential.
And then this week on Raw, Oh boy. Retribution. I think they like opened the show almost, didn't they? Like they tried storming the ring during the first match of the show, didn't they?
Oh yeah, Big E, John Morrison. Yeah.
That was no. Oh, that was on SmackDown. I'm trying to remember what they did on Raw this week, though.
I thought they just still did more flickering light shit. Ooh.
Oh, that's right. They were backstage on Raw. That's right. Yeah. So there was the whole thing where Phillips said a cinder block was thrown through the Performance Center window, and that they had footage, and a security guard was shown running up to members of Retribution, telling them to go home. And one of the dudes was like, "No, you go home."
Yeah, I was hoping that was the response.
Threw a cinder block through the glass door, and then the second one threw a cinder block for nothing, basically. And then they ran away. And then, like, there was another moment later on in the night where they tipped over a car, right? And then there was another moment where they were all backstage and they were just beating people's asses for no reason. And, like, it was really funny too, because I think this was like the main event of the show, or no, it couldn't have been the main event of the show, but like it happened later on in the show, and I think, and like the ring was surrounded with wrestlers acting as like security guards to try and prevent Retribution from interrupting or disrupting the match. And this might have even been on SmackDown yesterday, now I think about it, but Retribution, instead of going out to ringside where they would have, had a numbers disadvantage, just beat the shit out of everyone in the back. And it was on SmackDown, actually. This was all on SmackDown. So SmackDown was very eventful, because then Jessica Carr came out from the back and was like, "Hey, everybody, Retribution's in the back causing anarchy." I just can't stop using that. It's hilarious. They all go to the back, and then Retribution, I believe, if I remember correctly, they come out into the actual match and do the breaking up that they were trying to prevent in the first place.
Yeah.
And that was, in fact, the segment where they opened a bathroom door and someone was shitting, and then they closed it and locked it.
Amazing.
They didn't even lock it. They blocked it with a chair.
I low-key stand Retribution in my household. Like, this is amazing. Like, fuck, man. I'm here for it. I honestly hope that they pull shenanigans all throughout SummerSlam. And, like, the main event doesn't even happen because Fiend, maybe they plug up where he's supposed to, like, come out, or they like, keep blowing in his locker room or something. I don't know. Just keep wreaking this juvenile havoc.
So just to recap, so far, Retribution has been around for 2 weeks. It's been the 2 weeks that you and I are reviewing right now. On Raw, they've really only destroyed property, because they did the Molotov cocktail, they tipped over the luggage boxes, and they broke a window with a cinder block. That's the extent of what they've done on Raw. They haven't really gotten physical with anyone on Raw. But on SmackDown, last week they literally stormed the ring, destroyed the ropes, beat the shit out of Jessica Mea for no reason, and stood tall to end the show, which also involved beating down whoever was in the match to end the show, which was Miz, Morrison, Heavy Machinery, Mandy, and Sonya. And then
okay.
And so on Raw, the tally so far on Raw is literally just Molotov cocktail to some sound production stuff, or not even sound, but just like the production stuff in general, because it was like flickering lights and shit. So it was the Molotov cocktail, the tipped over boxes, and then this week the cinder block. On SmackDown, though, they stormed the ring. They buzzsawed through the ropes. They beat the shit out of multiple people, including wrestlers that were working the match at the time. And they stood tall to end the show. And then this week on SmackDown, they beat the fuck out of everyone in the backstage. They locked somebody in the shower. And then I don't think they ever even came out. I think that was just, they just left it at that. So on Raw, they're just like, it's like they're scared of Raw security or something, because they're more just like vandals on Raw. They're just like, oh, we're gonna destroy stuff, we're gonna vandalize shit. And then on SmackDown, they're like full-blown violent revolutionaries. It's like two completely different factions depending on the show you're watching.
Yeah, You know what, though? Good for them for trying different things on different brands. They're just trying to live it up as best they can. You know, Raw will destroy property. SmackDown will destroy people. We'll have our cake and eat it, too. I'm here for it. I understand.
Abel says, I think Payback will be a big night for Retribution.
Oh, Abel.
Gee, I wonder why the faction named Retribution would ever do anything interesting on a show called Payback.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Paul, though, in the sense that, like, what do they want Retribution for exactly? Or were they just like, I mean, to be fair, this is a perfectly viable explanation because we already know that they're all kind of fucking try-hard edgelords with the buzzsaw shit. Been sitting around in, like, a group meeting being like, hey, what do we call ourselves? Let's come up with a cool name. And one of them was like, Chaos. And then was like, no, that's a New Japan stable. And then someone was like, Anarchy. And they were like, no, we don't want to be too on the nose. And one of them was just like, Retribution. And they all just looked at that guy. And they were just like, holy shit, that's perfect.
Damn it, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
And nobody bothered to raise their hand and be like, but wait a minute, what do we want Retribution for exactly? Because if they would have, then everyone else would have just been like, shut the fuck up, Steve, what does it matter?
Shh, you're not supposed to know it's me under the mask.
Shut up, Kyle, you're not supposed to know it's me.
And now you're telling on me. Everybody just quiet down.
Shut up, Adam.
Let's go piss in Vince McMahon's office.
Well, no. We can't do that because then we might get fired.
Okay, but what if we lock somebody in a bathroom stall while they're taking a shit?
You're a fucking genius.
Let's do it.
Can we beat people up on the way? Yeah, perfect. Let's go.
I love it. You know what? This storyline's my guilty pleasure in 2020. I've been waiting for it. It's come to me.
I think I'm with you on that, dude. It's so bad it's good. It's hilarious. It's stupid as hell. But it's the only thing that keeps my eyes open for these shows at this point.
Yeah, like, ever since that guy brought out that chainsaw, I'm like, we have to stand.
That's the tone we're setting with this? Okay, now I know where to adjust my sarcasta dial when these segments come on.
Exactly.
Oh,
I love it.
God.
So, we've talked about Retribution, which should only leave Sasha, Bayley, and Asuka, correct? That's like the main event thing, right?
Before we do move on, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit, briefly speculating. Before we even bother speculating who's in Retribution, I'm just going to ask you straight up. Do you think WWE even knows who they want to be in Retribution when their faces are finally revealed?
That's a really good question. And knowing the internal disorganization of the company and everything, I would say no. I don't think they know who they want.
Dude, here's the thing. First time we saw them, it looked like 5 white dudes when they were first on Raw with the Molotov cocktail.
Yeah.
Last week on SmackDown, there were clearly at least 2 women and like 1 or 2 dudes with darker skin tones. And then this week on Raw, Dijakovic was clearly the deep voiced dude that was talking shit to the security guard. And then on SmackDown this week, there were like 8 of them. Where are they coming from?
See, now, dude, they could actually... Now, maybe I'm, like, overplaying my hand. They could make that work to their advantage to me and not telling themselves about how disorganized in the writer's room they are. Because if they wanted to lift a concept from another group that Vince is probably terrified of because he doesn't understand things, Anonymous. They almost make it seem like Anonymous is everyone, right? Yeah. Like, we are all anonymous. The same way we could say we are all Retribution.
That's the thing that really scares the fascists. It's just not being able to identify the person so that you can call the cops on them and send them to jail and ruin their lives.
Exactly. When you make it more of a conceptual thing, like, oh, we're all this thing because it's an idea,
Oh my God, dude, I forget. I wish I could remember who said this. I'm so angry that I'm forgetting. It might have been Thought Slime, but I feel like he was quoting someone else when I heard him say it, or if it was even him in the first place that I heard say it. Somebody once said that the reason that Batman doesn't cover his whole face is because he needs the cops to know that he's white.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
That's so fucking sad that it's not even wrong. It's on the nose as hell.
Yeah, it is. But that's the way they can make it work, where it's like, oh, you think you've pinned down the definitive faction of Retribution, but oh wait, there are other people that are sympathetic to their ideas, so they've donned like the name Retribution. I feel like that'd be really cool, and it could keep the faction fresh, because you never have like this definitive ossified set of people.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I really feel like Santana Garrett was like the sort of female leader of the group this week on SmackDown, but I'm not banking on that sticking at all. Like I feel like the members, the actual roster members of Retribution might even change with every single show. Like, if it doesn't change as far as just like there's one roster for the Raw Retribution team and there's another one for the SmackDown, or, there was like one roster for last week's Retribution and then a different roster for this week's, it might literally just be a different roster for Retribution every single time they show up on a show.
I completely agree with you. I think to say anything other than that would be way too charitable to WWE right now, personally. So I think you're on the money with that. I wish WWE would lean into that as an advantage for the reasons that I just mentioned, so I'm not going to go over them again. But, yeah, I don't think that they're going to do that. I think that they are going to try and figure out a final set for Retribution, and then that's going to be it. Which, there's nothing wrong with that so long as it's a good set. But it's funny how it's like an idea, because if their reasoning is like, either we've been held back or we didn't want to wait for opportunities, we wanted to take them. Yeah. Those are ideas that people can be sympathetic to.
I was even saying, like, when they when they fucking chainsawed the ropes.
Like, that was great.
What'd you say?
I said that was great. I live for it.
I was literally saying out loud while we were watching that, maybe even you heard me, this is the closest to feeling like Nexus WWE's gotten since Nexus.
Yeah, I think I do remember you saying that, actually. Yeah.
So I feel like if it is literally just like 5 to 10 NXT talents that should have probably been called up by now that haven't been, that are just, hey, fuck you, we're calling ourselves up. I would be down for that. That would be cool, especially because we would then know that one of them is skilled at wielding chainsaws.
Yes, which... God, my heart. I hope he's the leader of the faction.
Dude, low-key, it kind of looked like it might have been Swerve, too, so I don't know, maybe.
Oh, wow. Dude, of course Swerve would be the one brandishing the... What a cool motherfucker. Oh, man. He's in the meeting. Okay, guys, how do we cause chaos this week? And he's just stroking the chainsaw that he got. We can cut it down. We can cut anything down now.
Fucking Killian Dane's just there like, chill, man. We don't need to cut down any trees. And he's just like, who said anything about trees? I'm talking about the whole building.
And they're like, we're not using the chainsaw against Swerve. And then Swerve like coddles it and he whispers to it, soon, my pet. Soon I'll feed you the world.
Oh, God.
I need to go
This
home.
Is way too fun to make fun of. Like, it's like, I think I'm 100% on board with you. It is like a guilty pleasure. Like, I fucking love how silly and stupid it is.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. Like, I can't even really hate it. And I can't, look, to make my first serious point, I think since we started talking about this, I do like that the faction has women in it, because I think the only other time we've seen that is Sanity with Nikki Cross.
Well, yeah, with
and
Nikki.
So,
yeah, she also didn't join till later, didn't she?
I thought she was a part of it from the
get-go. You know what? It was Killian Dane that joined later.
Killian Dane, yeah, was the later addition.
Yeah.
So, like, women being a part of factions, especially like intergender like factions, is just the idea of intergender factions, I should say, is still.
That's where I get scared, because as great as that idea is on paper of like, oh, this faction is going to try and win all the gold and not just the men's gold. Like, their women are going to go after the women's titles and the women's tag titles. The guys are going to go after all the gold. That never fucking happens in WWE. Like, and especially like in instances like this, I feel like more often than not, the women get overlooked for the men until the men's pushes are over, and then the women maybe get something of a push, maybe, if they're lucky.
You can have a little TV time as a treat.
Yeah, that really is what it's literally just like. What do you mean you're not being featured? You're out there at ringside every time one of the guys in your faction's having a match. That's more featured than most of the women. You should be full.
Jesus Christ. I hate how right you are about that, but you're totally right. Well, we'll have to see how it goes, man. But I'm here for the ride. I'm just like, I'm at the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
I'm letting it go.
Did
I'm like,
you
you know
just
what?
say I'm at the seat of my pants?
Yeah,
Wow.
I did. And I'm just like, you know what? You guys have set the tone. I'm just gonna follow. That's it. That's fucking it.
I think that's all
Let's
they
do
want,
it.
man. I think that's all they want.
Let's brandish those fucking chainsaws. Let's set fire to things.
Yeah, chainsaws, Molotov cocktails, chairs for locking people indoors.
Let's TP Evans' office with
Cinder
that commie
blocks.
2-ply.
Yeah,
Let's
hell
fucking
yeah.
do it, man.
Yeah. Have you ever even heard of 3-ply toilet paper? That's the real shit. That's the real product of communism.
Dude, you might be getting a little next level for the boomers, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, we'll fucking see how that goes.
If we ever get to 4-ply, I would only need to use 1 square at a time.
Hot damn. So yeah, I guess the only thing left, right, is Bailey, Sasha, and Asuka.
And everything that is being fed into their story, yes, exactly. So we've got Shayna, we've got Asuka, and we've got the Women's Battle Royal. I think those are like the only real things that are kind of revolving around Sasha and Bailey at the moment that I can think of. Am I missing anything?
I don't think you are, man.
Okay, so Shayna's easy to get out of the way because she told Asuka explicitly, I want you to beat Sasha at SummerSlam because I want to beat you for the title. But at the same time, it's starting to really feel like Shayna has a problem with Sasha personally, and I really think we're going to get Shayna versus Sasha at Payback.
Yeah, I could see why you say that. I'm inclined to agree.
So yeah, that's as far as Shayna goes, she didn't. I don't think she did anything on this week's Raw, did she?
This week's Raw. Not that I remember.
Oh, that's right. She was on Raw Underground.
Oh, okay. That's when she took out the 3 women at once. That's right.
Yeah. So that was that. Last week was when she did the promo to Asuka telling her, I want you to win, all that stuff. And then the only other thing that we've really gotten from Shayna was that she was in the Battle Royal this week, which we'll talk about that, later. Asuka, though, I mean, Jesus Christ. Asuka is just doing everything. She challenged Sasha. She won the Women's Battle Royal to challenge Bailey. So Asuka will now be challenging for both titles at SummerSlam.
And really, she's already got the foothold on Bailey, because remember, she was only able to challenge Sasha because she beat Bailey in that match on Raw. Because Sasha said, you beat Bailey, you get me. She's already beaten one of the women's champions. Now she's going to face him again for the title. Yeah. Asuka's on a fucking roll right now. And I've been enjoying their stuff, man. Shayna, it'll be cool to see Shayna get back in the title picture. I don't know how they're going to present her, because if it is going to be against Sasha, are they going to have Shayna work more baby? Even if it's just in the ring work more baby by having to fight from the ground up. Or are they just going to have her be a killer all the way through? Maybe a Samoa Joe type babyface.
I wouldn't be too disappointed if Asuka won both belts at SummerSlam and had to defend both belts then at Payback and lost one of them at Payback, that being to Shayna, the Raw Women's title.
Right.
Like, Asuka, both belts, is something that I feel is really something that she's earned at this point. Having the right to call herself a double champion seems like, okay, this is like the natural order of things, considering how fucking amazing she's been, how much of a role she's been on, and the fact that she just lost her tag team partner due to effective retirement from the company. So yeah, let's reward her for all of the work that she's been putting in with a double belt run, even if it only lasts a week, and then we can keep one of the titles on her for longer than a week, but have her drop one of them in a week.
Yeah. Man, SummerSlam preview prediction is going to be wild when we do that, because I don't know how I'm going to feel about the Asuka matches. I don't want to say too much here, but I do think, again, I think I said earlier that Asuka's really worked her ass off during this pandemic, and even if, because I know you and I have our reservations about 3 women having monopolized this kind of spot, but when they're your 3 best workhorses in the company, what else do you expect them to do? It's I'm not going to fault them for being talented. So I just hope that they all kill it at SummerSlam. And this is still one of the best things in the company. And Bayley specifically, I still stand by. I think she's the best in the world right now. I love her personality. I love like how she talks. I love how she works the ring. Like I think she's the one person more than anybody in this whole era. Second, maybe only to Asuka. And again, that could be debated. Maybe some people would put Asuka above Bayley, but that's really worked the whole environment to her advantage. And like getting Cole in on it, I think has been great. And I love even how Cole sells it because he's not over the top. He just makes these faces like I really fucking hate my job, which I could totally believe it given, you know, how he has to do his job in the WWE corporate structure.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bayley's just been doing good shit. Asuka's been working her ass off. Sasha's finally getting treated like the star that she deserves to be treated as, because it's not just being featured on TV. Because I think we've made that case. I don't even know what made me make that case. Either like Abel was like, well, at least they're on TV, or somebody was like that. And I'm like, yeah, but qualitatively, like a person can be on TV and get squashed in 4 minutes, and a person can be on TV and cut a great promo and then win like a 15-minute match. There's a difference there. You know, Sasha always was like on TV. But I feel like this is the first time that her booking has really risen up to her talent level. And you just love to see it for all these women. So I'm just really happy about everything that's happening right now. Just good shit. So, yeah. All right.
Do we have anything else that we want to talk about? Asuka won the Battle Royal. I mean, you got to praise Bayley. I don't know. I feel like we might be done.
I think we might be done as well.
I think we've been going for so long that I lost track of what it was like to not be live.
Yeah, dude, we went hard on this.
Yeah. Because it's one thing. It's one thing when we're live reacting, because that's like, okay, our energy is kind of, you know, snowballing between the energy of the show, the energy of chat, and each other. When it's literally just us talking about our opinions about a wrestling show, it's a lot more like we just have to generate our own energy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, what else is there really to say? That they're still carrying the company, they're still killing it, and I'm stoked for what they do at SummerSlam. So with that, let's get into high spots and low shots. I would say my low shot is Bayley. She lost to Asuka on Monday, and then now she's got to face her again at SummerSlam with the title on the line, and that exact reality is now causing tension between her and Sasha, because she said to Sasha, well, yeah, I've got this. Now I actually have something that I care about to fight for this time. You know, not realizing that, oh shit, I didn't care about protecting Sasha's championship. So it's been a rough time for Bayley Dostrap. So she's going to be my low shot.
Yeah. It's worth noting that last week's Raw was the Raw that Sasha won the titles on because of Bayley beating the shit out of Kyrie.
That couldn't have been last week. That was. Are you sure?
Now, to be clear, when I say last week, I don't mean the most recent episode. I mean the one before that.
Really? It was already like, wow.
It was August 3rd. It was the August 3rd episode of Raw.
Wow, that's wild. I thought we were a bit more removed. I mean, not crazily removed, but I thought we were a bit more removed than that. But either way, you know, she did.
Oh, no, you know what? You're right. It was the week before. That's my bad.
Okay. But yeah, you know, she did lose to Asuka, and now she's got to face her again with the title. So it's like Asuka has a psychological advantage, and that's straining her relationship. So I just thought Bayley would be a suitable low shot. So, yeah, who's your low shot?
How about kayfabe because of Raw Underground? No. My low shot is gonna be Andrade. We talked about it already. He won one match because the other dude passed out when he was doing offense, and then he lost in 4 minutes to Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah. I'm just going to take the easiest high spot. I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit, fucking Asuka.
Yeah.
I mean, here was a woman that Bayley and Sasha put through hell, and now she has set herself up for the ultimate revenge. Like, I have never seen in a lot of feuds, yeah, everybody gets some kind of a comeuppance. I don't know how much more of a comeuppance Asuka could get if she pulls this shit off. Because, like, holy fuck, they fucked with her. And she's just like, okay, I'm going to ruin your career. I'm going to ruin your career. For all we know, dude, Asuka, for shits and giggles, is going to find a tag partner that isn't Kyrie. She'd have to find somebody else. Maybe Gloska can get back together. And they'll be the ones to fucking challenge Beisha for the tag titles at Payback. Like, just to really stick it to them one last time. She's in their heads right now. She's living rent-free. Yeah.
Fucking Abel in chat, low shot, guy in the bathroom.
I was chuckling at that too, man. Abel, you're a gem. We love you. So yeah, high spot. I'm gonna take the low hanging fruit, Asuka, man.
You know, I will give an honorable mention to Apollo Group. Apollo has had a great couple of weeks, but at the end of the day, I feel like this high spot would be insincere if I would do anything but agree with you and sign on to Asuka, because like really, taking into account that Kyrie getting the shit beat out of her did not happen over the 2-week period that we're covering here, and that I was wrong about that. It's easy. Like, there's nothing bad happened to Asuka over this specific 2-week period at all, other than the fact that she's been kicking ass and earning title shots. Like, that's been her whole life over the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, Asuka's a really easy choice here.
Yeah, completely agree. So, with that said, this has been WWE Catch-Up Commentary number 15. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. You got something you want to say, bud?
I want Chainsaw Guy to show up in Raw Underground.
Worth it. That's the only time I really thought it was worth it to cut the momentum off of my outro.
Dude, I was just thinking, like, I was just thinking about how my low shot was going to be kayfabe because of Raw Underground, and then it's like, oh, how hard do we have to suspend our disbelief to believe somebody's getting into that building with a chainsaw to cut the ropes illegally?
Yeah.
Just bring it to Raw Underground. You're never gonna lose. Who's gonna go against you? You're the undisputed champion of Raw Underground with a chainsaw.
Amazing. Absolutely
Chainsaw
amazing.
Charlie's back.
So yeah, fucking Catch-Up Commentary, TWitWoW. I'm John Corn, Commentary Ashton. This episode was sponsored by Kami 2-Ply, and I just want to let everybody know. I wish I'd have a good tagline for that, but I know I'd butcher the momentum, so I'm not even going to try. Leave a like as you file out. We actually had an uptick. We have 9 people watching out. You guys came in like really late. I guess you knew that a party was really happening here. Click the bell icon for notifications, subscribe, so you never again miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. And I've kind of petered out, so I'm not going to go on a big tangent.
They saw that we were live for 3.5 hours, and they were just like, okay, there's got to be something special going on here. What is this?
Absolutely. So yeah, guys, just be sure to do that so that you keep up with us, because I do like having you guys here on some real shit. I know I've gone crazy the last 2 times I've plugged this part, but I really do like when you guys are here, and I would assume that you like when we're here because you keep tuning in. So yeah, just do yourself a favor and just keep in touch with us. Bell icon, subscribe. You can check out all of our socials. It's on the background and in the description box, or on Twitter, obviously YouTube, Discord. You want Discord access, that's $3 a month on the Patreon. If this month Q&A is going to be on the 27th. 3 questions for non-Patreon donors. For $1 though, you can get up to 5 questions for Q&A, so do consider doing that. We greatly appreciate it. And yeah, you guys just know the drill. Now, you know what? Well, since I'm doing the outro, I will kind of take this, and I don't mind asking Ashton for a little bit of help here. I do feel like our schedule might have taken a hit here because Stardom canceled some shows because, a flu like popped up. People have been getting sick, and with COVID, they don't want to take any chances. So that got messed up. I know Ashton and I, we've been watching the Princess Cup from TJPW. They're not even having a show tonight, and if they were, we would have missed it because we went hard on this tonight. But they canceled anyway because, of the same sickness. So they're just taking necessary precautions. I applaud them for that. So I think that did mess up our Stardom reactions, because I think we were set to do one on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll just tell you, if Stardom doesn't have any shows this weekend, our new schedule, we're going to do NXT Live Reactions Wednesday, TakeOver 30 preview Thursday night, New Japan Strong Episode 3 Live Reactions, and SummerSlam previews on Friday. I think we should wait until after New Japan Strong to do SummerSlam preview, because SmackDown will probably have new matches announced. Then Saturday we've got a TakeOver live reaction. Sunday we've got SummerSlam live reaction, and then the Monday after that we've got post SummerSlam Raw live reaction, because it is a big four pay-per-view, and we do still kind of abide by those rules.
Yeah, so even with Stardom kind of up in the air, which again, I'm happy they're doing it, even though I've really been loving the 5-Star Grand Prix, we are still stacked, guys. We're coming at you with a lot of stuff, so I hope you're here for all of it. And you guys know how I always like to close out. I like to remind you to just stay safe out there. I know we joked about it, but just the idea that we're dealing with fire tornadoes now, like this year is not easing up. I hope you guys are being good to yourselves. I hope you're being good to each other when the opportunity arises. I'm glad that you guys invite us into your computer screens to kind of lessen that load for a few hours and to kind of turn your brain off. Even when we bring the world into it, I'd like to think we do it in a lighthearted way, because you got to laugh at it, because what the fuck else are you going to do at this point? And, just keep taking care of yourselves out there. We hope we see you again. Again, most immediately, we would hope that would be Stardom, but if not, it would be NXT on Wednesday before TakeOver 30, which is looking pretty stacked. I know what match I'm looking forward to the most. I can't wait to preview that, next week. And until then, guys, tune in, and as best as you can, peace out.